land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
For the red and blue true believers, they've climbed out of purgatory. For Melbourne tonight, there is a brand new flag.
After 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
The Demons are premiers.
Let's go. You don't want to miss this.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Check this out. Now we're in business. Won't believe what you're about to witness.
Hand pass to Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith, be the hero.
So much to
40 out. What a superstar.
That is a moment of inspiration.
He loves this day. He loves this stage.
You better know it's the greatest show.
AFL.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it.
Superb finish.
The impossible angle.
Sensational goal.
And that's what brings fans through the gate.
Roll up, it's time for the show. Forget everything that you know. You ain't seen nothing like this. It's impossible to resist.
Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang.
To the right forward pocket.
Pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah.
You ain't seen nothing like
Here we go. We've got a game now.
We are on.
You want your very best players having the ball in the moments that matter.
With the talk from 55. That is the cream on the cake. That is brilliant.
Grandstand AFL.
Grandstand AFL.
Straight in front, 50 out, whacks it straight through.
We have a thriller.
The captain delivers in a big moment. You are kidding me. Oh, he's a superstar. Sets his sights on goal. Johannesson leaps into the night sky and drags in the mark.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Turns and snaps. What a way to finish.
Grandstand AFL.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
They are the two surprise packets of season 2022, Carlton and Hawthorn, two unbeaten teams under new coaches who are exceeding expectations to start the season. They've juggled COVID challenges and injuries and today meet at the MCG with just one to continue the perfect start. The Hawks sit on top of the ladder after round two following wins over North Melbourne and a stunning 60-point thrashing of Port Adelaide, while the Blues beat last year's grand finalists, the Western Bulldogs, after beating the Tigers in the opening round. Hello, welcome to Grandstand AFL. Matt Clinch with you. 16 degrees and overcast at the MCG this afternoon, and we are expecting a little bit of rain throughout the match. The Hawks have lost their captain, Ben McAvoy, with a neck injury. So that means Jaguar O'Meara will take the responsibility this afternoon, and Will Day gets an opportunity to come back into the Hawthorn lineup. While COVID challenges have continued around Carlton, Adam Saad, the latest to join the unfortunate group who have joined the AFL Health and Protocols Safeties, but it means we'll get to see Jordan Boyd, who makes his debut for the Blues. A second-year Blue who was picked up in the 2021 mid-season draft, played with the VFL Western Bulldogs side and now gets his chance on the MCG. Corbin Middlemaster to call the action alongside me. Corby, welcome. Great to see you.
Thanks, Clinchy. Nice to be here. And a nice, healthy crowd turning up as well for Sunday afternoon footy, despite the bit of drizzle and the overcast nature. As you said, a hot start for both Carlton and Hawthorn. We had 6 undefeated teams starting the round. We're down to 2 at the moment, with Brisbane and Melbourne both passing the test. We had Sydney and Collingwood obviously dropping games at the weekend. But as you touched on, only one of these teams can remain perfect leading into round 4. So we'll find out who joins the D's and the Lions on the top of the tree after round 3.
Mark Murphy's been a part of the pre-game presentation in a Carlton home game, joining Eddie Betts as they made a lap of honour around the MCG. His partner in crime this afternoon is Brett Delidio. Lids, great to see you.
Thanks, Clinchy. Yeah, good to be here. And the crowd is really piling in here. I was just talking off air to Corbin before the game, and I haven't really been in a packed house for so long, and it'd be really nice to see people continue to roll in and really bring the energy, because it's so much better when the crowd's up and about. I watched from the couch the Richmond Carlton game, and it seemed like that's been nearly the best one so far in terms of the Blues supporters really getting up and about. So going to be an interesting game today. I'm bullish. I'm not bullish, but I'm excited about what the Blues have been able to do. They're exciting up in the front end, and they're super in the middle. The big thing for me is, can the Hawks match it in the middle? You know they're going to defend really well, the Hawks, but they were putrid last week in terms of clearances and disposals, but their ability to go forward and score was as good as any. So, hopefully we get a really high-scoring affair where it doesn't just turn into a dour slog. You mentioned the rain coming. That could be the worst thing for a big crowd and everyone being here. But they've both played exciting footy this year, so it should be good.
They don't want for too much, Carlton, do they? Apart from maybe their back six, which obviously without Liam Jones, they need to form new partnerships there. But
Oscar McDonald out as well.
Yeah, such a strong clearance side to start the season. Adam Chera comes back in. And fascinated how that's going to go against a side like Hawthorn, who, under Sam Mitchell, have shown an ability to move the ball and really capitalise on getting that inside their inside 50. Mitch Lewis on the end of it, Gunston and Bruce. So they've got great partnerships up in their forward 50. And as we saw last week against Port Adelaide, give them enough shots on goal and they'll make you pay.
That's it. And that's, we haven't seen the best of Jack Gunston over the last couple of years. We're starting to see what Mitch Lewis and the hype that's been about him, the ability to move around the ground and catch it at its highest point, it's been fantastic. The biggest thing, the thing I'll be looking for early in the game is, does anyone go and stand next to Paddy Cripps? He's been nearly the form player of the first 2 weeks. Can you influence him? And Sam Walsh is going to be so much better for the run last week. We said the same thing about Charlie Curnow. Came out and kicked 5 after his first round. So can Sam Walsh go again? Is he going to have to take a little bit of load if they do tag Cripps? But can you tag Cripps? That's the biggest question. And I wonder whether someone who's standing 190, you always have to bring Sam Frost in just to say, righto, mate.
What about someone like a Connor Nash, who's played a little bit in the midfield, big-bodied? But I think it's a great question, because if Paddy Cripps doesn't punish you, it's almost a bit similar to Oliver and Petrarca. Then you've got Chera, Walsh, Kennedy.
Endless.
Carlton have got a midfield now, all of a sudden, that BAP's sort of 4 or 5 deep. So just because you shut one doesn't mean you're going to win the match.
And that's exactly right. I think that's what Sam Mitchell spoke about during the week. You can go to Cripps and put all your time and energy into him, but then someone else comes. That's the best thing about, good midfields and good teams is that, if someone's having a down day, someone else will pick up the slack. And Carlton are starting to do that, and they probably haven't done that over the last few years, where they've been a little bit more disappointing in that. So great for Carlton supporters, great for Carlton. I think the competition's better when we've got a big and strong Carlton team. They're passionate about. I know, Corby, you're shaking your head because your Bombers are near the other end at the moment, but mate, they'll be back up there, and when them and Collingwood, Hawthorn as well, Essendon are all part of it. And I was sounding very VFL and Melbourne centric here, but we're seeing the results here with the big crowd, aren't we? It's exciting for footy.
Sounds like a man who grew up barracking for Carlton.
Oh well, that is part and parcel of it too. Yeah, I was a Blues man, but there's still a soft spot. But
you said the Dominator here earlier?
I did see the Dom, yeah. We're talking of Wayne Johnson, who was my runner for quite a few years. I've never seen someone as a runner spend more time on the table getting prepped for a game, more time than the players. So he certainly trudged out and made you feel good about yourself. I'm not sure he delivered too many spot-on messages to Dom. He was more so about pumping the boys up. But good to know Wayne's still going well and presenting his jumper earlier to one of the young boys.
Yeah, to Lewis Young.
Yeah. So great to see the former Bulldog get his chance in defence for the Blues. 2012, the last time Carlton started 3 wins and 0 losses. Before that, you've got to go back to 1995. And I feel like we're all wanting to see whether what Hawthorn have been able to produce, whether it's real, whether they can sustain it. So Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass to call the action. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy, your experts, the final member of our team, sitting in the front row. Good afternoon to you, Jess Webster.
Good afternoon, Clinchy. It's so great to be down here at ground level. There was a really, really great crowd building, and the patrons are still streaming through the gates here for this afternoon's clash. As for the conditions, 17 degrees, a little bit cloudy, a very light drizzle, not much on the radar. So hopefully the rain stays off and we see a packed house and a great spectacle for Sunday afternoon footy.
Thank you, Jess. 0437 774 774. Phil's been in touch. Plenty of fans still trying to get into the MCG, so we might see a few more in 5 or 10 minutes' time. The countdown on the big screen as we count down to the last 5 seconds. Hawthorn and Carlton from the MCG. Just one will continue unbeaten in season 2022. Let's get into it. Here's Corbin Middlemass on Grandstand AFL.
Like a bit of a throwback to the 80s, an undefeated Carlton up against an undefeated Hawthorn. In the middle, Reeves wins the first hit out of the game. Down to Warple in the famous number 5. His kick smothered. Ricochets into the lap of O'Meara. Puts Hawthorn inside 50 and Gunston hugs it to his chest out on the lead. And the Hawks will have a look at the sticks before Carlton have touched the footy.
Well, that was exactly what I'd just spoken about, wasn't it, in terms of the clearances last week? They weren't their strong suit, and that's where the Blues have been very good. Interesting that O'Meara started side by side with Cripps, and he was the one who got out and got forward of the footy after that initial bounce down. Landed it on Jackie Gunston's chest.
In he comes, 3 in his first 2 games. Gunston's kick is wayward. Lucky to score off the fingertips of the former Hawk Pitternet. And a behind to get the scoring going. 50 seconds in. Hawks are 1. The other man on debut for the Blues and in the competition more broadly, Clinchy, is Jordan Boyd in number 37. Had his jump presented by Lance Whitnell a little earlier.
Very nice. Zach Williams brought the ball back into play to Wiedering. Dylan Moore didn't stand the mark, and Wiedering pointed that out to the umpire and said, yep, 50 metres. So take it from the defensive 50 into the middle of the MCG. Blues deep into attack. DeConing, the target, won't get to him. And Granger Barat sets himself in front, takes the mark for the Hawks. One of a number of young defenders in this new look Hawthorn side. Out to Sicily, always a good ball mover. From half back, kicks towards Gunston, caught behind against Zach Williams. Williams brought it to ground. A chance for Plowman over the footy for Carlton. Hand pass to O'Brien, to Walsh, to Cripps. Quick hand passing just to the back of Zach Williams. Couldn't take it. Cripps tries to knock it out for Carlton, but McDonald's onto it for the Hawks. Kicks it in the middle of the ground. It's an inventive kick. It doesn't work. Boyd sliding him down low, gets his first disposal. Kicks out wide to Setterfield. Couldn't gather. And the Hawks take it back on the wing through Morrison.
Morrison retreats to Scrimshaw. He goes short to Wingard in the sleeves again today. Swings his kick out wide to Bruce. In front of the interchange for Hawthorn. Zigs and zags his way around Boyd and then kicks inside the forward 50. Lewis caught at the back and skidding through. Louis Young takes the intercept mark. First game in the new colours and the navy blue for Carlton. They've got the white monogram on the front and the navy shorts as their home game against the Hawks.
Long out of defence, up to half-back, great mark. Corey Durden rises and takes the mark. Mark Murphy, welcome. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Clinchy. Not sure about Corey Durden being the bailout kick there, being 172.
How was that as an experience, Murph, doing the lap of honour with your kids?
It was nice, except for my son Max just cried the entire way.
Oh, no.
So I basically had anxiety.
Didn't like it.
I think he wanted to jump out of the ute.
Setterfield on half-back, kicks Carlton up towards half-forward. DeConing forced the spoil from behind, brought it down to the front. Boyd gathers for the Blues. Hand pass to Setterfield. High up and under kick towards Charlie Curnow. In the end, Durden was the only one who flew. Kept his feet and was able to take the mark at right half-forward for Carlton.
He's a marking machine, Corey Durden. He looks inside the forward 50. Harry the target. He just crunches into the back of Sicily. Gives away the free kick. Warple takes the advantage. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. His hand pass a little hot for Morrison. And O'Meara mops it up. Just kicks for space. Out on the members' wing. It won't go out. Newman keeps it alive for Carlton. He goes short to Walsh. Sam Walsh chips it horizontally to Hewitt. And number 29 for his new club as he was at the Swans. That's not a great kick. A high bomb to half forward. Big fly over the back. No mark to Koning. And the umpire says a free to the man in front. It's Chankwoff Jaff who will take the kick for Hawthorn.
In that famous number 9, worn by Robert Di Domenico and Shane Crawford. Jaff taking it over in season 2022. Short to Sicily, long up the members' wing. Mitch Lewis, the marking target. Young got a hand to it to spoil it down from Carlton's point of view. Warple's hand pass was just a bit wide for Morrison. And he can't gather through the pressure of Setterfield. A boundary throw in front of the two benches. Hawthorn by a point through 4 minutes. Opening term here on Grandstand AFL.
I mean, 50 plus the crowd?
I reckon it looks
to be,
pretty
yeah.
full.
So.
Yeah. Really good roll up for the boundary throw in. Here's Pitternet, he's tackled, dispossessed, up says play on. McDonald, hand pass to O'Meara. He's tackled, got a hand pass over his shoulder to Nash, who's drilled front on. Chera, neat tackle. Got him ball and all, and the umpire says, we'll chuck it up on the wing. Hawthorn are behind, Carlton yet to score, 4.5 played.
The two rucks tangle. Wingard came flying through, couldn't quite gather the footy. Cripps is over the top now. Warple. They both have goes at trying to knock it clear. Wingard with a hand pass to Morrison, to Jaff on the wing. Shanks a kick forward, almost worked to Bruce, couldn't take the mark, but was held when not in possession by Nick Newman. And the Hawks to go inside 50 once more, left half forward. Bruce veers out to the right, kicks long, looking for Gunston, it clears him, and in front position, Dylan Moore takes the mark.
That's a really clever kick, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, very clever. And Carlton just had about... Sorry.
Moore wastes no time, steps out, snaps on the right boot, and kicks the opening goal of the match through 5 minutes. It's all attacking from the Hawks at the moment. They're 1-1-7 to Carlton yet to score. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you.
Well, it's all well and good getting numbers back, Lids, but I would have had 10 or so numbers back Carlton in, but no one picked up one of the Hawthorn forwards. And just
more, yeah. He has a happy knack of just dropping into little holes and finding space where there isn't a lot. These forwards, though, these days, they don't give you a lot of time to set up and tell the listeners what's going on, do they? Everyone loves to roll around and snap. It doesn't bode well for radio, but
not great for special comments, is it?
No, it's not. But the goals on the board, the Luke Bruce kick was what set it up. It was he was going to pull the trigger, held on to just that step more, and it just allowed Dylan Moore to find that little hole of space and get on the end of it, and the Hawks score first.
No late change. Jack Martin and Daniel Howe, the two Medi subs. Umpire Stevic slaps it into the turf in the middle of the ground. And Reeves hooks it behind to Ward. Ball held in. There's a whistle, non-controlling umpires. A free kick's going Carlton's way. She didn't spot what that was for, but the Blues will get the centre break as Kennedy loads up, kicks it inside 50. Harry's got it. Just reaching over the pack, and Mackay clunks it 35 out straight in front.
Geez, that was a strong grab, wasn't it? And that's what you want your big men being able to do. I've got to be quick here because he is as well setting up just for the run around.
He's going to hook across the body here, Lids. He's basically in line with the goalpost. Right in the corridor. And he's going to snap from straight in front. Mackay kicks it. They count them all the same. The Blues with their first of the game. 7 minutes in. They're 1 straight 6. Hawthorn 1-1-7. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio, Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's certainly something that he trains. I remember last year that from any angle, basically, and that was a 10-degree angle, if at all, sets up for the snap. So he does it at training all the time. So, you know, he's, 35, 40 out there and goes back from basically directly in front and kicks the snap. But it just shows you how much faith he's got in himself from anywhere kicking snaps, I suppose.
What I like is they get the free kick and Matty Kennedy just rolls around straight away and gets in, gives his big guys a chance just to set up, and he got that jump on Sam Frost. Didn't get the reason to fly or an effort to fly and spoil.
Bounce back in the middle. Reeves sets himself up against Pitnet, who won down the tap to Kennedy. Hand pass away to Walsh. Carlton with the clearance. Kicks towards half forward. In front position. Scrimshaw tries to slap it away. In now a tangle as Durden came in down low trying to win the footy. And it's stopped to the chest of Morrison as he's locked up at right half forward for the Blues. Carlton 1 straight 6, Hawthorn 1-1-7. The Blues heading to the city end in this opening term. Reeves this time down boundary side towards Ward. Can't get a disposal away as he's tackled by Cripps, and the umpire will throw it in.
You'd think Harry being at 204 and Charlie being able to jump on blokes' heads, I think they'll have a fairly big focus on getting in quick today.
Hawthorn by 1 after 8 minutes from the boundary throw in Setterfield. First possession, hand pass out to Fisher. He kicks inside the forward 50 for Carlton. Big leap, Curnow. Another pack mark from another key forward for Carlton. And Charlie Curnow, right half forward, can have a set shot. He'll kick from about 50 out.
Well, this is why you have the expert commentators, Murph. It's exactly what you just spoke about. Get it in long and quick and allow those big boys to run and jump at the ball. We're going to start, hopefully we see a clean run for Charlie, see the best of him.
They kicked 9 between them last week, Mackay and Curnow. A couple of pack marks, a couple of goals. What's not to love? The two big key forwards in navy blue with the opening 2 goals. Carlton at 2 straight, Hawthorn a 1-1. We're 9 minutes in fact, into the opening term. Carlton by 5.
Well, I think at some stage the Hawthorn will have to almost drop back another to sit in front of Harry and Charlie. Obviously you can't do it from a centre square bounce, but stoppages, if the midfield, who have certainly been getting on top in the first few rounds, the Carlton midfield that is this season, they're going to give them first use, and Charlie and Harry, if they can create separation and learn how to work well together, it hasn't happened really much over the last 4 or 5 years since they got to Carlton, but if these guys can week to week keep playing together and work at each other's strengths and where to run and where to be, it's going to be pretty dangerous.
Just the 4 games last year for Charlie Curnow, getting a good run this year. De Koning in the middle, one down the tap. Cripps was tackled by Mitchell, who grabbed the back of the jumper before he had possession. So the Carlton captain has it in the middle of the ground. Works the kick over the top to Kennedy. Just short of half forward. Veers down onto the right. Kicks inside the 50. Charlie Curnow the target. Granger Barras brings it down, then taken high by his own teammate Frost. Still a chance for the Blues. Mackay just shovels it out. Centrefield dragged down by Day. Not sure he had the footy. Play on's the call. The Blues under enormous pressure as Hawthorn work it out. Scrimshaw, long kick to half-back. Moore offers the chase. Boyd should be able to gather for Carlton. Good tackle by Dylan Moore. Brought him down. Hard against the boundary. Umpire's going to pay holding the fall. Hawthorn are taking it right half-back with the Blues leading by 5.
Started the season well, hasn't he, Dylan Moore? It's his 4th goal today, and chase down tackles like that, worth his weight in gold.
Oh, he kicks from Warple on the wing, but too much hang time in it. Kennedy takes the intercept mark. Carlton with the last 2 to lead by 5. He goes short and wide out to Jordan Boyd on debut. And he goes short to O'Brien. And Boyd, taken in the mid-season draft last year out of Footscray's VFL team, continues to produce AFL players down to Curnow, who then kicks long for his partner in crime. Harry, was he being held? He had the arm across. It's going against Mackay. Caught in a tangle with Sam Frost and a free kick in front of the behind post. Last line of defence for the Hawks. Carlton by 5, 10 minutes in.
Frost looking for options out of defence. It's a long ball to hurry back. Got underneath the barrel. It's able to clear Granger Barras, and Boyd runs onto it for the Blues. Hand pass back to Wiedering, to Doherty on the outer wing. Comes inboard to Owies. He marks it left half forward for the Blues. All Carlton at the moment with a substantial time inside their forward 50. Kicks long towards Cripps, who takes the mark, pushing forward. It's going to be a hard matchup for Tom Mitchell to try and stop him if he pushes forward like that.
Exactly right, Clinchy. I think we spoke about it. And who could play on Pat Cripps? You almost have to play a key back who can then run around in the midfield. Tom Mitchell's not going to be able to stand him inside the 450.
3 goals in round 1. 2 goals against the Western Bulldogs. The Carlton captain going to new levels. Steps out, snaps across his body and kicks their 3rd. It's a red-hot start for the Blues. 3 straight 18 to Hawthorn, 1-1-7. 12 minutes gone, opening term on Grandstand AFL. The inside 50s all of a sudden, 7-3.
I think that's going to be one of the key matchups. I've been watching it to see has anyone been putting any time into Paddy Cripps. I think it looks like it's more of a team type, let's try and wear him down, really put some pressure into him, tackle him hard, lay on him for a little bit longer. I saw Warple and Mitchell both try and go to him at stoppage to nullify his influence there, but that's the beauty of him now and what he's really added this year. He started to do it the last couple, but more so this year early. He's going forward, and when he can catch it like that at 195, he's almost unstoppable from the midfield.
He is, at 195 and such a beast around the ball, and to be able to drift forward and kick goals. Extremely important player.
Takonin in the ruck, wins it down for Carlton, but the centre break to the Hawks as Josh Ward kicks to half forward. Newman at the drop. Takes the intercept mark for Carlton on the back flank. Our experts Mark Murphy and the voice of Brett Delidio before that. That's his voice after the Billy Joel songs last night as well. Just busted out a few.
Nailed a few, you should say.
Goes back to Lewis Young. That'll be coming up at half-time. Lids will give us another rendition as Young goes long out to half-back. Curnow flies for the footy. No mark. Spills to Durden. His hand pass. He's coming back anyway. None of that will matter. He just rugby passes the ball all the way back.
I know Charlie kicked 5 last week, but he still looked a little bit scratchy today. He's looked unbelievable so far.
Kicks it long towards Takonin. Kennedy in from the side, couldn't take the mark. Bruce crumbed it, tackled immediately by O'Brien. Still a chance for Carlton, hard against the boundary, but it's out on the full as Tom Takonin tried to jag a kick forward. So how good can he be, Charlie Curnow? I feel like we've seen glimpses of it.
I just hope he hasn't lost his leap, and judging by the first quarter here today, he looks like he hasn't. So that knee was, caused him a lot of issues, obviously, over the last 2 or 3 years. I just hope he can get a clean run at it, and if he can jump like he is at the moment, it looks pretty dangerous.
Nash with a long kick around the southern wing. Bruce is onto it. Hand pass to Moore, who's run down by Doherty. No free kick for holding the footy, and the umpire will throw it up at right half forward for the Hawks. So Carlton with 4 contested marks to Hawthorn's 1 through the opening 15 minutes. That is their aerial strength, isn't it, the Blues?
Takonin knocks it close to the boundary line. Kennedy collects, and Newcomb drills him in the tackle over the line. A throw in between wing and half forward for the Hawks.
You know, Harry and Charlie, obviously the two key targets, but DeConning being that second ruck and be able to be forward as well at 200 odd centimetres. If it's a clear day like it is here at the G, having Charlie, Harry and Tom DeConning, it spells a bit of danger for Hawthorn.
Silvani and Cripps and all these guys that can run and fly at the footy from the boundary throw-in. Spills down to Cripps. Hand pass to Kennedy. Hand pass out wide to Chera. He turns and kicks to half forward. There's Charlie. He's got it again. 60 out left half forward. Rolls, kicks it deep. Silvani 2-on-1. Silvani! What a mark in the goal square. He was outnumbered and the blue blood comes down with it anyway.
Wow, if that's what we've got to look forward to for the rest of this year, tell you what, I'm going to be very excited every time a Carlton game comes up for me to come and do live. It's one good mark straight into another.
They are lethal up front, the Blues, and Silvani knocks it through. They've got 4 on the bounce. 16 played opening term, Carlton 4 straight 24. Hawthorn 1-1-7, Jess Webster on the boundary.
It's only early in the first quarter, but the Carlton fans are absolutely loving what they're seeing. A huge roar after that mark and goal by Silvani. And we touched on it earlier. There is such a fantastic crowd here at the MCG. Patrons are still coming through the gates and taking their seats. It's only going to get bigger from here.
Well, that last passage of play was a template that Carlton you've seen all season so far. Win the stoppage, hard ball, spread, use the hands, be smart with the footy, get it into Charlie 1v1. He wheels and goes, takes a good grab and gets it in quick to either Harry or Jack Silvani, and it's pretty exciting football to watch.
They're good to watch, the Blues, at the moment. They've skipped out to a 17-point advantage. Nash is having a run in the ruck here against DeConning. DeConning comfortably wins it down to Hewitt. Bounces off a tackle. Hand pass to Kennedy. Another clearance. Doherty away to Walsh. Here go Carlton through the middle of the ground. Kicks long towards Harry. Bit of a shove. Got rid of his opponent in Frost illegally. And the Hawks take the advantage through Jaff. A bounce out of defence. He kicks out to right half back. Dylan Moore on a long lead. He marks on his chest at left half back.
Moore looks back to the corridor for Mitchell. He gives a hand pass to Jaff, who's off and running with support in Moore. Gives it to him. Kicks inside 50. Gunston gets there on the hop. Shoots a hand pass out to half forward. It's McGuinness. He goes to Wingard. Missed him momentarily. Chad mops it up. Shoots goalward. Lewis trying to claim the mark on the behind line. It's over the line and a minor score off the boot of Wingard. So 4 straight to 1-2. Carlton by 16 points. First score in a little while for the Hawks. We've now travelled 18 minutes into the first.
Sub down to the match. Chad Wingard with a hamstring concern against Port Adelaide. So good to see he's right to go. Williams long out of defence. Spots Pitternet. Good block allowed him to get free and take the mark at left half back for the Blues. Looking for options long down the members' wing. DeConning the marking target, a couple to compete against, and in front, Will Day takes the mark. Good to see him in his first game of 2022. Into the middle of the ground, McDonald has it. A couple of the young Hawks combining. Then works it over the top. Warple has it. Forward to the centre circles for the Hawks, but the Blues have pushed numbers back, so he's going to have to be careful in his ball movement here. Looks to just bang it long inside the 50. Mitch Lewis the target. In the pack, can't take the mark. Front and centre, McDonald couldn't run onto it. Now Young over the footy, trying to knock it out for Carlton. A chance here, throwing it on the boot. McDonald to the goal mouth. Chera lunging, knocks it through for a minor score.
Luckily they had about 3 goalkeepers back there, but still no one got a hand on it.
Carlton by 15, 19 minutes gone opening term.
Williams on the kick-out duties, goes short to Chera. 2 big acquisitions in the last 2 off-seasons for the Blues. As Chera on cue turns it over. Will Day takes the intercept mark. Jaff finds himself on his backside after a collision with Mackay. The ump says nothing in that, so Day from 60 out just lays it up to the top of the goal square. Going early, Young got a hand on it, spills down to Kennedy. Hand pass for Newman in the back pocket, and again Carlton rebound. Kick out in front of Walsh. He runs onto it and marks it half back against the boundary line.
Possession number 5 coming up for the Blue. Matt Kennedy with 7. He goes short, and Silvani has it at left half back. The Blues leading by 15 points. Silvani already with a goal next to his name. Kicks for O. He's hard against the boundary. Can't quite complete the mark as Ward's right there with him. And a boundary throw in onto the Shane Warne stand here at the MCG.
Do you reckon the crowd has a 6 in front of it?
Oh, we don't know what's above us, of course. But
right to the back of the punt road end.
Very good.
I think
very good.
Below the scoreboard on the Olympic stand.
I'm
53, I reckon.
I was about to say, I think we're almost closer to 60 than 50, but from the boundary throw in, Pitternet wins the tap down to Mitchell. Hand pass to McGuinness, hooks a kick across the body, but too wide, out on the full. The way the Blues have started, Mirth, they may still be coming down.
Coming down from Lygon Street.
Yes.
Had 52,000 last night, Corby, for Collingwood and Geelong. That had a rocketing feel about it.
Is this more than that?
I think it's about the same.
About the same.
Kick.
That's a great kick. As Williams looks inboard and finds Kennedy, who marks at full stretch. Swings a Polyfarmer hand pass back out to Williams, who goes short to Walsh. Just forward of halfway, and Sammy Walsh looks deep inside forward 50 now. Jaff underneath it. Fisk comes away from Scrimshaw. Durden in the pocket. The Dacos effort just across the goal face. It bounces through for a behind. Off the boot of Corey Durden, the South Australian. It's Carlton by 16 points, 21 played opening term.
He's bringing a small man back, isn't he, Corey Durden? He's started the game very, very well.
James Sicily brings Hawthorn back into play. Long kick looking for Wingard. Doherty's there with him, but Wingard too strong in the marking contest. Takes the mark at right half back for the Hawks. In the long sleeves, which of course were banned in the Clarkson era. Peroxided hair as he plays on, veers out to his left. Bumped as he got his kick away by Doherty. Pitnet sets himself underneath it. Spoiled away from Newcomb at the last moment. Centre field for Carlton. Through the hands of Walsh to Doherty. Just around Wingard. Got it forward to Durden at left half forward. Kicks inside the 50. Good vision. Straight into the corridor and finds Owies.
Just shows you the importance of just taking a little bit of an extra 2 or 3 steps with the ball. Realised he had a bit of space. Let Owies come back at the leg rather than just banging it in the whole time. That's a fine line of balance we talk about, going inside 50, and smart little ball use there from Corey Durden, who started really well.
Temptation will be to go long to Charlie and Harry at every occasion, so spotting someone free in the corridor. Matt Owies here with a chance to try and kick the Blues fifth. A goal scorer comes in, strikes it pretty well, and steers it through the middle. Owies with his second goal of the season, first of the match, and the Blues skip out to a 22-point advantage. The biggest lead of the match, 5-1-31 to the Hawks, 1-3-9 on ABC Radio around the country and ABC Sport Digital. You're with Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy.
Well, what's noticeable really early here, Murph, is the ability of the Carlton mids. They all stand, 185 plus. Sam Walsh probably aside, and their ability to stand up in tackles versus Jager O'Meara, Josh Ward, and now Chad Wiggun's in there. Top Mitchell spends time in there. They're not anywhere near as big as these boys, and so they're really up against it in terms of, I just spoke about the small man coming back into the game, but when you've got big-bodied mids, step through the traffic, get it into those runners' hands, it just makes such a difference.
They fight through the tackle well, don't they? And then they hold really good balance from the ball, so it allows that little quick handball to get a good kick going forward.
Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio back in the middle. Pitternet wins it down. Here's Cripps. O'Meara tackles him. Did he get him in the back? He did. As he came to ground, Cripps trying to get rid of the footy, and O'Meara ended up straight on his number 9 as Cripps then takes the free kick and kicks it right to centre half forward. Jack up strong. Marks in front of Silvani at centre half back for the Hawks. He flares it to the back flank. This is Warpaul. He wants to take on Doherty. Puts his hand right in the middle of his chest and then kicks down the wing. Sliding through Lewis, can't mark. Nash goes back to collect. He fends off Cripps. Kicks an ugly ball to half forward. Not a kind bounce for O'Meara. It skids out of play and a throw in, 30 out from the Hawks goal. Carlton with the last 5 in the game. They lead by 22 points. Time on opening quarter.
We'll try and keep you across the Women's World Cup as well after England won the toss and elected to bowl Australia 1 for 226 in the 39th over. Elisa Healy with the highest score in a Women's World Cup final, 122 at the moment. Wingard with the clearance, kicks Hawthorn into a tap. Wiedering underneath it, missed it. Newcomb knocks it on. McDonald almost got on the end of it, but Setterfield cleverly slapped it back to Wiedering. Gets a clearing kick to the defensive 50. A chance for Hardwick. Tackle, gone. Owies, great tackle, and Walsh takes the advantage with a hand pass to Charlie Curnow.
He just kicks it out in front of Silvani, who marks. There's only 4 players in the front half. Silvani's going to go deep to De Koning at full stretch, can't mark. Through his fingers it goes and over the boundary line. A throw in forward pocket for the Blues. They had a reputation last year, Carlton, of conceding runs of goals. They conceded 5 on a number of occasions in the Teague era. Well, they've kicked the last 5 here. It doesn't look like there's going to be much to slow them down at the moment. For the boundary throw in to Coney. Taps it down to Sicily, knocked out of his grasp. Reeves, dangerous hand pass. Durden steals it from Jack, kicks it from the pocket. Make it 6 in a row.
Hit the goal umpire, Corb.
And they're going to go up to the arc, but Corey Durden likes it. From the naked eye, I didn't have too much to doubt that.
That's an all clear goal.
Unless he was standing in front of the post, it doesn't matter.
So Corey Durden, he had it behind in similar fashion moments ago.
Looking at this angle, we can see the ball would have gone for a goal had it not hit the umpire.
Now he's got a goal. And the goal umpire just waiting to throw up the two Dukes. I'm not sure he's got the message. There'll be a roar momentarily, but Corey Durden's kicked the goal. There it is. 6-1 to 1-3. Carlton by 28 points, and the avalanche continues. 26 minutes in the opening term.
Well, he's zipping around, isn't he, Corey Durden? I know it says he's 173 in the record, but I think he's kidding himself if he's over 170, to be honest with you.
Is that right?
That's just the word. That's just the word in the street. The boys wanted me to get it there today, but he just wanted the ball more there, didn't he?
Yep.
It just
Jack
looked
was looking for it to go out of play and pay the ultimate price.
Snooze you lose, unfortunately for CJ there on that one. He was just relaxing, thinking maybe Harry Morrison was going to come through, but crafty little small forward, they can sniff a goal and they don't miss any opportunities, do they?
So Carlton with 6 goals from 6 individual goal scorers. All of a sudden they lead by 28 points. Bounce back in the middle here at the MCG. Reeves sets himself against Pitnet. Got high, Reeves, one down the tap, but straight to Hewitt of the Blues. Hand pass to Cripps, feeds it to Doherty, running off half back. Nice little sidestep and kicks long inside the 50. Harry was pushed out of it. Charlie Curnow flies. Free kick. Impeded in the marking contest was Harry Mackay, and he'll have the shot on goal against Sam Frost.
Does he do the same thing here, Murph?
Yeah.
Set up.
Oh,
doesn't look like it.
Go back.
That side he doesn't like to do it.
No.
Doesn't open up the goal mouth enough for him. He's just going the traditional set shot here, but probably there. I think Sammy Frost has got a little bit grabby.
Directly in front, no more than 25 metres out. Last year's Coleman medalist, Harry Mackay, comes in and he kicks his second, the first multiple of the match. And Carlton, with a 7-goal-to-1 opening term, are out by 34 points, 7-1-43 to the Hawks 1-3-9. 27 minutes gone, opening term, ABC Sport.
Well, I think what won't please Sammy Mitchell here is the lack of pressure that came onto Pat Cripps in that centre bounce. He was able to just stand and wait and assess. Do I go forward? Do I bomb it? Oh, no, there we go. Got a little handball received. Sam Doherty running past. The pressure will come, or the message will come from Sam Mitchell to his mids. Get that frontal pressure coming. Come at the player with the footy. I don't care if we get 2, maybe 3. I'd rather see pressure on that ball and force him into making a decision a lot quicker.
And the Hawthorn forwards just allowing them to run off the Carlton halfbacks as Boyd, Saad, Doherty, all blokes with a lot of speed.
The third week in a row, they produce a 7-goal quarter, the Blues. DeConey wins it down in the middle. Chera hand pass to Cripps. Hands it away to Hewitt. Now to O'Brien. Sweeping hand pass in front of the path to Cripps. He coughs it up under pressure. And Mitchell just bangs it back up to the wing. Numbers again with Carlton. Plowman goes the spoil in the long sleeves. Unkind bounce for Williams. Hawks win it back. Bruce to Nash. He kicks over the boundary line. Trying to head down the line to Gunston, and it's out on the full. And Wiedering will take the free for Carlton. He heads back inboard to Doherty. It's Carlton by 34 points. Half hour in, opening quarter.
Doherty returns it to Wiedering by foot. Kicks to the boundary line, looking forward to Koenig. He's forced to spoil against Warple. The two end up in a tangle just in front of the fencing. A throw in under the Shane Warne stand here at the MCG. Carlton by 34 points. Toss back into play. To Koenig and Reeves. Neither get a hand to it. Cruel bounce for Newcomb. Couldn't get onto it. Wingard becomes the tackler as Doherty took possession. And the umpire will throw it up on the southern wing.
Season so far for the Blues. They kicked 7 goals in the second quarter last week against the Bulldogs and 7 goals in the final quarter against Richmond on this ground in round 1. They've kicked 7 in the opening term here as Reeves gets the clearance after winning the hit out down to half forward. Gunston and Wiedering in a tangle. And a free kick to the defender. Wiedering will take it for Carlton. He goes out wide to Williams. Carlton by 34 points, the last 7 in the game. Along the boundary line, he finds O'Brien, a former top 10 pick, heads along the line to Mackay, who leads up and marks. And this has been a real problem for the Hawks, with Carlton having the footy and going forward on the wing. He kicks to half forward. Silvani flies at the drop. He follows up. The pack forms around the Carlton number 1. The umpire lets them go at it. Hewitt at the bottom of the pack had a chance to get rid of it, didn't, and now he's in trouble holding the ball. Free kick for Hawthorn, and Finn McGuinness will take it on the back flank.
So pick 29 in 2019, Finn McGuinness, long up to the wing. Kicks towards Gunston, who tries to palm it down to Reeves. Tackled by Cripps, got the hand pass to Nash, back to Wingard. Day, nice side step to Nash, gone by Cripps, good tackle. Just got the hand pass away at the last moment. Wiedering for Carlton, cleans it up on the wing. Hand pass to Doherty, sends it towards a one-on-one. Harry Mackay was pushed in the face by Sam Frost as he was trying to come back, and then Frost didn't return the footy with an underground throw. It bounced past Harry, but the umpire's chosen not to penalise him. Mackay sends it towards Charlie Curnow. There's him and O'Brien there. In the end, Denver Granger Barras did well to spoil it out of play. A throw in 45 metres out from the Carlton goal at the city end of the MCG. It's the Blues by 34 points.
Geez, their skills have been great so far, haven't they, Carlton? They're just hitting everything, going inside 50 as well. It's been great to watch.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport as Reeves wins down the tap, straight to McGuinness, who's tackled. And the opening quarter is in the books. So the Blues going at 79% kicking efficiency. A quarter in which they kicked 7 goals to Hawthorn's 1. And as Corby touched on, it's a third straight week where Carlton have been able to have a 7-goal burst. Of course, the Bulldogs did come back in the second half at Docklands last week, but it's an imposing start from the Navy Blues. Carlton 7-1-43 to Hawthorn 1-3-9. The margin at quarter time is 34 points. For the Blues, 2 goals to Harry Mackay, individuals to Silvani, Cripps, Durden, Curnow and Owies. And for the Hawks, their goal has come through Dylan Moore. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Hi, I'm Scruffy. Look into my eyes.
We've all been dazzled by a cute pooch, but how well do we really know our dogs?
Dogs have undergone an amazing journey from wolf to our best friend.
ABC News Breakfast's Tony Armstrong presents a new series taking us inside the minds of our doggy friends.
Canine science is allowing us to understand our dogs' personalities.
A Dog's World with Tony Armstrong. Tuesday nights on ABC TV or log in to stream on ABC iView.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
So whistle on controlling umpires. A free kick's going Carlton's way. She didn't spot what that was for, but the Blues will get the centre break as Kennedy loads up, kicks it inside 50. Harry's got it. Just reaching over the pack, and Mackay plunks it, and he's going to snap from straight in front. Mackay kicks it. Setterfield first possession, hand pass out to Fisher. He kicks inside the forward 50 for Carlton. Big leap, Curnow. Another pack mark from another key forward for Carlton. Mackay and Curnow, a couple of pack marks, a couple of goals. What's not to love? There's Charlie, he's got it again. 60 out left half forward. Rolls, kicks it deep. Silvani 2-on-1. Silvani! What a mark in the goal square. He was outnumbered, and the blue blood comes down with it anyway. They are lethal up front, the Blues, and Silvani knocks it through for the boundary throw in to Coney. Taps it down to Sicily, knocked out of his grasp. Reeves, dangerous hand pass. Durden steals it from Jack, kicks it from the pocket.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Sunday afternoon footy kicking off from the MCG. The Blues are the bright start, leading by 34 points over the Hawks. 7-1-43 to Hawthorn 1-3-9. We'll, of course, have regular score updates from the match this afternoon between St Kilda and Richmond before the local derby between the West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers. The Sunday footy forum with Clint Wheeldon, Mark Duffield and Jake Nile will, of course, follow this game as well. So a chance for you to get involved in the action later on this afternoon. Matt Clinch calling the action alongside Corbin Middlemass. Jess Webster is down the boundary. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy after the opening term.
well, clinical so far, Murph, in the way that the Blues have gone about it. You'd have to be very pleased. A few things concerning me just with the Hawks, although they're probably there last week as well with their ability to win clearance, and actually they're nearly 30 down in disposals already. Clearances, they're down 10-6. But the Blues, in the way that they've done it, is mostly out of centre bounce. And I suppose when you kick 7 goals, that's where most of your clearance and stoppage work's going to happen. So the thing that would worry, and I spoke about it during that quarter, was the lack of pressure on the Blues, and they're just stepping out, putting the back six under a heap of pressure down there for the Hawks. They're doing their best. But when the ball's coming in clean, 1v none, not kicking over hands or under any sort of pressure, you can just put it to any sort of advantage spot that you like, and it's giving Curnow, Mackay, Silvani chance to run and jump. Makes it very hard.
Yeah, you did mention about the big bodies through the midfield of the Carlton middies. It's not that the Hawthorn aren't putting pressure. Like, they've got 13 tackles apiece, Carlton v Hawthorn. Contested possessions are pretty even. It's on the uncontested ball, but it's just fighting through the tackle and fighting through two blokes at times and allowing a Carlton mid to be free. And their Cribbers is too good, and Hewitt's too good. Walshy, Kennedy, they're all too good at maintaining the ball. Once they get under pressure, they cop the tackle, maintain the football, handball it out, get some good balance on the outside, and then just deliver it, as you said, to the big key forwards inside 50 for Carlton. And they just look too damaging at the moment. It just doesn't allow the Hawthorn defenders to come off and intercept.
Well, the first thing is for Hawthorn, get your hands on it in and around stoppage. They can't do it. They can't step through. They haven't got their hands on the footy. But it's also that we've got to pay credit to the way the Blues are getting their hands on it, but they're also the way they're setting up behind the footy as well. They're not giving, Mitch Lewis and Jack Gunston a real chance to do what they've done the first 2 weeks. Some really clean ball movement, ability to run and jump at it. We saw the very first clearance of the day comes out. Jack Gunston gets on the end of it. Didn't get the shot on goal that he would have liked, but that was their only real clean passage, apart from when Luke Bruce goes inside the Moore and they kick a goal. So win the footy first, I think, for the Hawks, but if you haven't got it, put that pressure on. It doesn't have to be tackles. It can be just that implied, get up in their face and put them under the pump.
Yeah, no, we always talk about Harry and Charlie, the Carlton forwards, and Jacob Wiedering's one for mine that just unheralded and really underrated, almost within the AFL, really. I reckon he should be a 2-time All-Australian defender, Jacob. He just sets his defenders up really well, and he just doesn't lose a 1v1. He intercepts so well. And then you've got the likes of Doherty back there and Williams, who they're both All-Australian half-back flankers. So having Zach back in his normal position of playing half-back along with Sammy Doherty, who
looks comfortable, doesn't he?
Looks very comfy, and they're just smart, knowledgeable footballers. They just know where to go and where to be. And their ball use outside of D50 is just setting up the Carlton middies just perfectly.
Just before the second quarter gets underway, Jess Webster on the boundary.
Hawthorn have made their medical substitute. Daniel Howe has come on and taken his place on the wing. I'm trying to get confirmation on who's coming off. I think it might be Jack Scrimshaw. He was pointing towards his shoulder at one point to the doctors, so I'll chase up that confirmation for you shortly.
Yeah, spot on, Jess, in his 50th game. Pitnet wins down the tap. Cripps can't get the clearance. Ward can for Hawthorn. Hand pass to O'Meara off the outside of the boot. Kicks to half forward. Bruce had it spoiled away from him. Ward with a good little sidestep at left half forward. Opens up the 50, long towards Mitch Lewis. Spoiled away by Young. A chance for O'Brien for the Blues. Slaps it forward, gains 15 metres, but Moore's onto it. Hand pass to Lewis on 50. Off his left boot, high kick inside the 50. Wingard had it spoiled away. Plowman got a fist to it. Chera runs onto it for Carlton. Hand pass to Newman, out into the defensive 50. With a kick up to half back, and Jack Silvani marks.
Silvani heads down the southern wing to Mackay, who marks and then immediately rolls around, whacks it on the left boot inside the forward 50. De Koning, awkward one, got a hand to it. No mark with the pressure on from the Hawks back there as Hardwick knocks it away to O'Meara. Hand pass out wide to Ward. Back flank, he links up with Sicily. Back to Hardwick. Hand pass away to Mitchell. He missed his intended target. Jaff mops it up. Big Harry's chasing after Giat. He won't catch him as the kick goes to centre half forward. Spoil comes down from Bruce. Clever. Wingard hand pass back to Bruce. He's drilled in the tackle, and the umpire is unforgiving, holding the ball against Bruce. And Nick Newman will be rewarded at centre half back for Carlton. It's Blues by 34, 2 minutes into the second term.
Newman short to Young, straight up the middle to Chera. Got it on the half volley. Play on's the call. Has time to kick towards half forward. Fisher the target. Jaff racing back. Got a hand to it. Granger Barras streaming out of defence for the Blues, for the Hawks. Gets the hand pass to Day. Kicks up to the wing towards Tom Mitchell. He gathers, pulls his kick cleverly to looking for Ward. He marks with not a lot of options inside the 50. Comes into the middle of the ground for Newcomb. Hawthorn with a slow and gentle approach as Newcomb now looks inside the 50. Pulls his kick over the head of Wingard. Wasn't a bad option, just couldn't quite execute. And Plowman for Carlton goes short to Kennedy. Kicks into the middle for Silvani.
Plowman found himself as the Medi sub last week, came on for Oscar McDonald. He gets the start today. The kick from Kennedy out wide for Cripps, who has a fumble trying to evade Hardwick. It's out of play. And a throw in on the wing. He's well regarded internally, Lockie Plowman. Murph, I think top 7 in the best and fairest last couple of years.
Yeah, I think he's had a few top 3 finishes, so he's obviously finding it tough to maintain his position down there under Vossi, but it's good to see him out there at the moment. He started well today.
34-point lead for Carlton, as it was at quarter time. Both rucks miss it, and the boundary throw-in comes to Cripps. Hand pass under pressure to Kennedy, who's met in a Hawthorn sandwich. The ball ricochets out to Ward and then to O'Meara, by hand to Morrison. He goes back to Hardwick. Nice kick. Back on the 45, finds Mitchell, middle of the ground. Pops it up over halfway. Moore runs onto it. Shakes the Doherty tackle. He was taken high. Gets up, takes the advantage. Kicks it, Goldwood, and kicks it through. Dylan Moore breaking the Doherty tackle and then finishing on the run. It snaps a sequence of 7 consecutive Carlton goals. Hawthorn 2-3-15. Moore has both of them. Carlton 7-1-43, 3.5 played in the second term before Murph and Lids downstairs to Jess Webster.
Just confirming, it does look like a left shoulder injury for Jack Scrimshaw. He's just got ice on the back of the shoulder sitting on the bench, so an unfortunate end to his milestone match.
That was the kick from Blake Hardwick to pull their trigger, come back inside, hit Tom Mitchell. Mitchell, a little dinky one over to Dylan Moore, and I love little creative half forwards that want to take the game on. Wanted to try and get around Doherty, put the backs under pressure, and just slip that tackle. The tackle slips high and then knocks it through. He's looking very dangerous down there, Dylan Moore.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sports. 7 overs to go in the Women's World Cup final. Australia 1 for 260 after England won the toss and elected a bowl. Healy on 132, Mooney on 46. As the Blues quickly... Well, it's going to be a Jack Silvani free kick against Sicily off the play after Pitnet got the clearance to Kennedy. And Carlton through Jack Silvani will have a shot on goal pretty much directly in front, 45 metres out. Did you see that, Liz?
I haven't seen it, Clinchy. No, I'm looking at the big screen to try and find out. It wasn't a great kick from Kennedy coming in, but it was a fair way off the ball, that one.
Jack Silvani kicked a goal in the first quarter with a great contested mark. Here he is, set shot, beautiful strike, steers it straight into the Carlton fans at the punt road end. And the Blues pick up where they left off after the opening term. And the Dylan Moore goal to start the second quarter. It's back to a 34-point advantage. 8-1-49 to the Hawks, 2-3-15. 5 minutes gone, second term.
Got a feel there for the Hawks. They've started the second quarter really well, being really tough inside, hard around the ball, and to give away 2 consecutive free kicks, one out of the centre square and then one which went to Jack Silvani for something that is quite soft, is pretty disappointing.
Very hard to bite your tongue when you get one that far off the footy paid against you. They both had their arms across each other. I'm pretty sure that the umpires just seen maybe a jumper grab on the chest.
A slight jumper grab, and I reckon he's just paid it. He just must have seen it from Sicily.
And no doubt, the Sicily that I know would have given a mouthful years gone by.
Carlton by 34 points again. Pitternet, the former Hawk, grabs it out of the ruck, kicks to centre half forward. Walsh can't trap it. Still in dispute, front edge of the square for Carlton. Off his knees, Walsh extracts it away to Hewitt. Hand pass to Pitternet, links up with Kennedy inside the centre circles, kicks it deep. Harry running out after it. Sicily drops the mark he should have taken. Spills to Hardwick, he's under the pump. Lost it in the tackle. Sicily spun around, whacked down to Nash. Hand pass to Hardwick, and Hardwick just jams it on the boot, gets it out of the defensive 50, but it's deliberate. The Carlton fans were pleading for it, and the umpire was all over it as well. Zach Williams will take the free between wing and half forward for Carlton.
Carlton by 34 points, kicks to the lead of Harry Mackay. Frost was there, spoiled it away with good support from Howe, running onto it. Owies, hard against the boundary, squares it up. Here's Charlie. Charlie Curnow takes the mark, 30 metres out directly in front.
That was very good, wasn't it? Good, just a general setup. It was a kick to a dangerous big forward, put it out in front, he creates the contest, but then where small men are supposed to be, at the big boys' feet, Centering kick.
Charlie Curnow shooting for his second. As you heard there, straight through the middle, another one for the Blues. Last week was so impressive against the Western Bulldogs where they were able to put on 12 goals in the opening half. Well, they're doing similar here. 9 goals to 2, 9-1-55 to the Hawks, 2-3-15. 2 goals to 1 in this second quarter. It's the Blues by 40 points.
Well, you'd love to see that from your small forwards. You could have... Oh,
might have been out of bounds.
I think, that one from...
Where's Wayne Harms?
Oh, Matty Owies. I reckon that was a ball and a half outside the line there. So he's got away with one there. The DRS needed to come out, I would have thought. But good little spot up there. Charlie sitting at the top of the square. Good signs for Carlton at the moment.
Maybe they're paying the whole ball might not have been out. Give him the benefit of the doubt, but you've got to ride your luck, don't you? And he has certainly done that. But the unselfishness is what I like. Centering ball back in to really confirm a goal rather than being 50-50.
He was goalless here in round 1, kicked 5 straight last week and a couple already here in the game as Pittonet, a crucial hand in the clearance to Cripps, kicks for Owies, in front, can't mark, spills down to Walsh, again off his knees, hand pass to Cripps through traffic, he's caught, umpire says he got a hand pass away, Mitchell scraps out after it, umpire says play on, inadvertently soccering it away is Will Day, then follows up at ground level, Walsh, hand pass for Carlton, Mitchell had it for Hawthorn. Gee, it's a greasy footy to pick up. The Hawks work it up to the wing. McDonald ushers it out off his knees to Morrison, who's now gang tackled. And some scrappy footy, but both sides desperate after the red Sharon, and the umpire says, I'll have that. He chucks it up on the southern wing.
Reeves tries to get down the tap, but Cripps is onto it for the Blues. Hand pass to Fisher, to Doherty. Works it over the top, and now a chance for Hewitt. High ball looking for Charlie Curnow. Got one hand to it. Couldn't take the mark with Jaff right there with him. Frost tried to provide support. Always thought he was tackled when not in possession. Bit of a tug of the back of the jumper. The umpire doesn't play the free kick. And a throw in for Carlton in the right forward pocket. It is chock-a-block at that punt road end. Great to see fans back in the footy at season 2022. Thrown back in. Reeves sets himself in front of De Koning with a sharp no whistle. A chance for Morrison over the footy now. Hewitt underneath him. Tom Mitchell just hacks a kick up to centre half back. Won't get to the intended target in Moore, and Sam Doherty takes them up directly in front, 50 from goal.
They're under the pump here at the moment, the Hawks defenders and mids.
Gives the hand pass off to Boyd. The debutant goes bang and misses to the left. Unselfish from Doherty. He probably was well within range. Carlton by 41 points. 10 minutes gone, second term.
Trying to give it to the debutant there to kick his first in AFL football. Pretty nice from the ex-skipper there, but unfortunately couldn't put it through.
Kick out comes to Chankwath Jaff on the back flank. He goes short to Morrison. Marks for Hawthorn. They kicked the first of the game and the first of this quarter, but apart from that, it's been all Carlton. 9 goals to 2. As Morrison's kick finds Warple, outer edge of the centre square, kicks to centre half forward, Moore takes the mark, plays on, goes for home from 52 out. Lewis down on the line, got a hand to it, but can't trap it. Goes through for a behind off the boot of Dylan Moore.
Some really smart penetrating kicks there from Hawthorn, just cut their way through the Carlton defence, and that's what you need to do against Carlton. You need to take your opportunities.
The kick out is coming back as Mitchell at half forward drives a kick goalward, only gets it to the top of the goal square. Blues whack it away, Hawks through McGuinness, hand pass away to Warple, high up and under inside 50, and Dylan Moore is like a magnet to the footy in that front half. It lands on his chest and he'll shoot from right half forward from about 45 out.
He must be invisible, Dylan Moore, at the moment. He's popping up everywhere. Not many Blues defenders are paying him a lot of respect. He's their only option going forward at the moment, so I'll be looking a little bit closer at checking a bit tighter on him.
He's their only goal kicker so far. Dylan Moore starts it out to the left, still alive on the behind line, and Lewis Young whacks it through for a rush behind. The former Dog and new Blue. Carlton by 40, or in fact 39 points now with that score, so 11 minutes into the second term, Carlton 9 goals to 2.
Zach Williams about to bring the Blues back into play. Australia 1 for 293 in the 44th over. So 33 coming off the last 2 overs, Corby, and Beth Mooney with a 38 ball 50. Joining Elisa Healy with 160.
Is it over?
I think it's over.
Put it in the cabinet.
160.
293 on the board. England have dropped some catches, but the nightmare continues for them. We're going to see a blood rule. Mitch Lewis caught one in the snoz in the marking contest, and he's very slowly walking from the field.
Isn't he?
Wasn't Jacob Kaczynski anywhere inside, obviously, last year to them.
The concussion, the boxing.
Had a little bit of a stoush. Boxing gloves put away on the Sam Mitchell.
No, it's not allowed to use them anymore. Just battling ropes.
That'll always be brought up, won't it? We'll never escape it.
Probably not. Zach Williams now comes back into play. Short ball, centre field. Just claimed it before it hit the turf in front of Bruce. Still inside the defensive 50 for the Blues. Post a kick over the top to Kennedy. Around the back, the hand pass to Zach Williams, still running. Into the middle of the ground, great kick for Owie. Spoiled down at the last moment by Sicily. Running onto it, Warple. Sends Hawthorn back into attack. Bruce trying to get after it. Wiedering, great courage. Back with the flight. Had the perfect sit against Wingard.
Just need to lower the eyes there. They had Lewis Young sitting back and Jacob sitting back, so need to make sure they're manning up and lower the eyes going inside 50.
Wiedering long to the southern wing and whacked away by Jaff, and it's out of play, so a throw in just forward of halfway for the Hawks. Last time they had 60,000 at a Hawthorn Carlton game was 2012. I'm starting to think we may be in that realm for the boundary throw in. Nash grabs it out of the ruck to Koning, runs him down. Ball comes out, and the umpire says play on. Spills to Kennedy, to Chera rather. His hand pass a little hot. For centre field, it ends up out of play, and we'll have a boundary throw in the same spot. So Carlton 9-2, Hawthorn a 2-5. The Blues kicked 7 in the opening term. We've now travelled 14 minutes into the second. Carlton by 39.
Nash trying to battle with De Koning in the ruck. It's gathered by Chera for Carlton. Hand pass to Doherty. Kicks out to Kennedy. The Blues have just dominated clearances in this match. Kennedy wide for Charlie Curnow, trying to run onto it. At right half forward for Carlton. Can't do so with Sicily right there in tow.
And they're getting great bang for buck from the stoppages too, because as we spoke about before, someone's winning the ball and then they've got great balance off that, whether that's a feedback or a handball out wide. So the person who's got the ball now is under no pressure and can use the ball easily going forward.
Inside 57 apiece in this second quarter, so the Hawks have done well to try and arrest the charge. Kennedy gathers from the clearance for the Blues. Hand pass to Hewitt, to De Koning. Awkward left foot kick, almost worked. Centre field couldn't pull in the mark, and now a challenge to get it from Day. Got it back to McDonald, and now to Jaff out of defence. Kicks wide to left half back. Newcomb the target. He marks on his chest. Boyd gave him a shove. Umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt. No 50.
Another pickup in the mid-season draft. Both those lads. Separate years, John Newcomb in 2020 and Jordan Boyd last season, now making his debut for Carlton today. This is Newcomb with the footy, goes along to McDonald. Wiedering puts his fist through it as McDonald goes to ground, loses the footy. Doherty for Carlton collects, hand pass to O'Brien off his right boot, kicks it out on the full.
Just a balance leg that one, Corby, I was about to say.
There's a few of them out there, 5. There's 5 lefties in the Carlton team today. Sicily goes back to Granger Barras. He's kicked dangerous for Morrison. Spills to Kennedy. Shoots goalward. He's missed everything.
It's usually the case with left footers, isn't it? They very rarely go on their right. They don't even know what it's about.
Sell all those boots brand new, I think. Those right boots.
That being said, Paddy Cripps had a couple of moments on his left boot last week. Even the greatest have some flaws. Sicily out of defence, set Day a challenge, backpedaling, he takes the mark on the defensive 50, shovels a hand pass wide to Ward, who's off, Harry's after him, got him! How do you like that from your full forward? Running down a midfielder. Well, I saw Harry offer a chase against Jaff. He looked back and thought, you won't catch me. Harry made you there. Long kick inside the 50. Oh, he's in the pack. Charlie Curnow there as well. Gathered by McGuinness of the Hawks. Hand pass to Tom Mitchell. Awkward kick out of defence. O'Meara's over the top of it. Ward gathers. Hand pass to Morrison. Hawthorn through Mitchell. Short pass to Warple. And he has it at left half back on the southern side.
The kick comes back into the corridor. It's a dangerous one for McDonald. Spoil comes from Boyd, but into the path of Bruce, who's onto it. Oh, Bruce trying to check his kick. Just trickled away off his boot, 3 metres. Boyd collects, he's tackled by Wingard, comes out the back of the pack, and Carlton win it to Koning, away to O'Brien. He kicks wide for Durden, who runs onto it, back flank, trying to get his way around. McGuinness kicks off his non-preferred left boot, within an inch of Owies, up to meet it from the wing. Takes it on the half volley, the 1-2 with Walsh. Back to Owies, he goes off his left. Not the same result. Newcomb skids in to take the intercept mark for Hawthorn.
Newcomb comes inboard to Ward. Carlton pressing here as the kick towards Warple. Just couldn't quite take the mark, and now Setterfield bumped off it by Warple. Hand pass to Nash, spinning out of traffic. Couldn't quite link with O'Meara. McDonald had to go. Then O'Meara tries to fend off a tackle. And Fisher is there with Newman. Newman got a hand pass clear. Kennedy's kick was smothered. Still a chance for the Hawks inside the attacking 50. Walsh tackled by Jaff. Not in possession, said the umpire. And Carlton will take it inside the defensive 50. The Blues leading by 39 points, but just 2-1 Carlton's way in this second quarter. 17 minutes gone.
I mentioned the 5 lefties in Carlton's team. There's only 4 in Hawthorn's lineup out of the 23 names, so it's a bit different from their glory days. As Chera off the back flank swings his kick out wide to Wiedering, gets to him on the bounce. He mops it up, kicks for Hewitt, and spoiled away by Sicily. Finds the boundary line, a throw in southern wing. Carlton by 39 points, 18 minutes played in the second term. Really the team with all the lefties nowadays is the Western Bulldogs. They had 12 back on Thursday night against the Swans.
Do you know that, Murph?
I had no idea about that.
There you go. That's the type of stuff you're going to get here on ABC Radio. We're right across it. Mitchell gathers hard against the boundary for the Hawks inside 50. Young attacked it well, was able to volley it out to half-back. Setterfield couldn't take it clear and then laid a big bump on Gunston. Won the footy for the Blues. They work it up to half-back. Cripps can't gather down low. And the ball goes out of play. Cricket World Cup taking place, Australia and England. Australia 1 for 315. Healy on 170. Mooney on 58. 4 and a bit overs to go. Will she make 200?
I hope so.
Go on. Go the Tonk.
Boundary throw in. Pitternet wins the hit out for Carlton and then just shoves Nash out of the way. Becomes tackler on Morrison. Pitternet just hustling out after it. Still lets them go. Walsh slides in, wins possession, but his hand pass of turnover. Newcomb racing away at half forward for Hawthorn. Lifts a hand pass to McDonald. He's bumped off it. Still there, Gunston. Lost the handle. Spills to Doherty. Hand pass to Hewitt under pressure. Still in dispute. Half forward for the Hawks. There's a free kick. And for contact below the knees, it's going Walsh's way. I think it was Gunston in the other direction. And Sammy Walsh a little sore making his way back to his feet. After the dangerous effort from Gunston, free kick Carlton on the back flank. He's copping the jeers too from the Carlton faithful. They lead by 39, the Blues. Time on second term.
Walsh kicks up towards the wing. Day spoils it down for Hawthorn. Big tackle late on Ward. Ball comes clear. Nick Newman for the Carlton side. Oh, Charlie Curto with a clever volley. Gets it towards half forward. He's overran the footy. Kennedy tried to sock it off the ground. Jaff swoops back, picks it up for Hawthorn. He's so clean in those moments. Hand pass to Sicily. Around the back to Newcomb. Hawthorn through the middle of the MCG. Long kick looking for Gunston. He and Doherty battle. Doherty got a spoil to it. Gunston tried to claim it. Now Young becomes the tackler. And the umpire will ball it up. 35 metres out from the Hawks' goal at the City end. The Blues leading by 39 points.
Well umpired then.
Very ambitious to claim that, wasn't it?
Trying to sell it.
Only 2-1 in the quarter. Carlton's way after they kicked 7-1 in the first. From the restart, Bruce spun around, lost it. Spills to Cripps, hands it to Doherty. His kick smothered. Ricochets back into dispute. Centre half forward for the Hawks. Ward releases a hand pass to Bruce. Shoots out of traffic and Bruce pops it through. Big goal for the Hawks to bring it back to a 33-point deficit. 21 travelled second term. Bruce with his first of the day. Carlton 9-2-56. Hawthorn moved to 3-5-23. It's Carlton by 33.
It's been pleasing for Sam Mitchell and the Hawks that Carlton haven't been able to get their game on that free-flowing style of play they had in that first quarter. They haven't been just able to chip their way through, speed on the ball, get into their big key forwards. Hawthorn have applied pressure, made it a bit scrappier. The last 5 or 6 minutes has really been a tight scrap on that far wing, the Shane Warne stand wing. And, it's been well done by Hawthorn to say, righto, we're not going to put up with this and allow Carlton to have it all their own way. And a great finish there by the Punky Boost. Put that one back through and make it back, what did you say, 33 points, Corp?
Eventually I got it out. 33 was the margin.
First Hawthorn goal scorer that isn't Dylan Moore. Reeves in the middle of the ground, one down the tap, but Pitnet gets the clearance, sends Carlton towards half forward. Day, great mark. He's just able to propel himself vertically up in the air against Chera to take the mark. From half back, kicks up towards Mitch Lewis, won't get to him. Williams dropped the mark, Dylan Moore onto it, hand pass to Nash, Hawthorn inside the 50, Bruce on the lead, he's got it. In the left forward pocket, he takes them up. Got separation from Plowman. And a chance for quick back-to-back goals for the Hawks.
Again, that's that ability to change angles. Plowman thought he had the dangerous space. Kicking across.
Bruce wastes no time, steps out, snaps across his body and puts through his second. So 2 goals in 2 minutes for Luke Bruce, and the margin is back to 27 points Carlton's way. 9-2-56 for the Hawks, 4-5-29. 22 minutes gone, second term, ABC Sport.
Well, I wasn't sure about the Will Day kick. It didn't quite have enough legs on it. Might have been swallowed up by Zach Williams, but it's just enough pressure on it to get it out. Dillmore doing what Dillmore has been doing, getting to the crumbs of the big boys. But it was that change of angle that I spoke about. Connor Nash didn't go just straight down the line and bomb it to the top of the square. Put it out, saw the space, the fat side. Lockie Powman was just left, not being able to defend Luke Bruce. An easy chest mark, and then, as we see most forwards do now, snap it around the body and put it in the book.
Carlton by 27 points, time on in the second. As Reeves palms it down and then gets the first disposal. Hand pass to Ward. Away to Day, back to Ward. They're going the wrong way, the Hawks. Hand pass out to Howe. He's bowled off it. Carlton win it through Setterfield, kicks to half forward, down at the bootlaces of Silvani. Can't collect. Jath gave it away to McGuinness, who went without it. Walsh onto it for Carlton. Hand pass to Fisher. Kicks to centre half forward. Cripps shakes one defender. Kicks goalward. Misses. But only just. Had half the stadium up on their feet, thinking the captain had done something special. Carlton by 28. 24 gone in the second.
That left foot looked a little bit nicer than the one we saw, well, a couple we saw last week.
Hardwick brings the Hawks back into play. Short to Newcomb on the defensive 50. Dinks a kick over the top and Harry Morrison runs onto it. So 24 minutes gone. Blues by 28 points. Hawthorn with 3 goals to 2 in this second term. Long towards Young, spoils it down for the Blues. O'Brien runs onto it. Hand pass back to Kennedy. He's going to retreat back by foot. And Zach Williams has it at left half back. Looking more like the Zach Williams of old, starting this new season. Short to Lockie O'Brien, boundary side. Then up to Durden. He had a good start alongside Matt Owies. A couple of small forwards, as Eddie Betts was tributed before the game. Long kick inside the 50. Pitton at the target. Pinched by Sicily behind him. Most defenders would have spoiled in that scenario, but not James Sicily. Takes a good contested mark.
He goes short to O'Meara and the shift is on. That's a dangerous kick though out to half-back. Setterfield 2 on 1. Setterfield wins it. Kicks it inside 50s. He's been tackled. Fisher rides the tackle. Hand pass to Walsh. Centre half forward for the Blues. Gives it to Cripps. Kicks out wide. Silvani can't mark. And it's out of play. Howe got back to affect the mark. A throw in 40 out from the Carlton goal.
Well, I know Dylan Moore's hot, but I reckon Jommy Jago would like that kick back. Can't do him 1v2 out there.
Carlton by 28 points, but Hawthorn with the last 2 in the game. Nash doing the ruck work. Wins it down. It's going back out again. In fact, there's a free kick. Fisher was taken out. And the tackle from Nash when he didn't have the footy. So Carlton are going to get it here. 55 out at right half forward. He says he's in a rush. Zach Fisher to go back and have this kick.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him sell the candy here.
Here he goes. Looks for the extra distance. Kicks off his preferred left boot right to the goal square. They come from all directions and Sicily whacks it through for a rush behind. Carlton by 29. Time on second term. 3 minutes before the half.
The Hawks out of defence through CJ. Jaff with a long kick to the wing. No one really the intended target. Williams got a tough bounce. Wingard tried to volley it out of fresh air. Missed it. Mitch Lewis was a shepherder for Howe. His hand pass turned it over. Chera, hand pass to Kennedy. Looks for Silvani. Almost pulled in the one-hander he did. With the right mitt fully stretched. Knocked it to his left. And that's a great mark right in front of the Carlton fans at the Olympic stand.
In the gully.
I didn't think he was going to clutch that.
That was good, wasn't it?
He's having that sort of match though. Took the specky in the first quarter. Was able to steer through his second in the second term.
Stats man, what's he been up? What's his biggest haul of goals? Jack Silvani. Murphy might know this.
So Corby will work on that. I'll work on the third shot on goal. Here he is, Jack Silvani from right on 50. angles it at the left goalpost. It drifts off to the left-hand side and a minor score. So Carlton by 30 points, 26 minutes gone, second term. Elisa Healy out for 170. She was stumped by Amy Jones. Australia 3 for 321 in the 47th over.
Disappointed she couldn't go on with it.
I was about to say the same thing. 4 times he's kicked 3. Lids?
Yep.
That's Jack Silvani. There's a drop mark here at centre half back, and that's from Nash. Puts his teammate under the punt. Hand pass to McGuinness, who's locked up. The umpire says ball up here, half forward for Carlton. The Aussies in a dominant position in that 50-over World Cup final in Christchurch. Up it goes, half forward for the Blues. Reeves wins it down, but it's Day who kicks out of the defensive 50. Bouncing footy to McDonald. He's drilled in the tackle from Nick Newman, who comes across and makes sure it's out of play. A few of their teammates have to untangle the pair. We'll have a boundary throw in here. 60 out from the Carlton goal. Blues by 5 goals. 28 minutes into this second term.
Toss back into play. Pitman and Nash. Nash palms it down in front position for Hawthorn, but straight to Kennedy. Squeeze the kick towards half forward. CJ ran onto it. Always laid the tackle. Hand pass to Nash. Back to Warple. Out on the full. Into the third row under the Olympic stand. Carlton to take it back and left half forward.
You know the blokes that love a stat are the ones that sprint over to the out of bounds on the full. Lockie O'Brien there, he would have run at about 32 k's an hour, I reckon, to get that one.
O'Brien kicks towards Harry Mackay. He's got 2 to compete against. Howes in front with good support from McGuinness. They see the ball out of play for a boundary throw in. It worked all right for Jordan Dawson, though.
Yeah, well,
you get the footy in your hands, the right player, the right time.
When you're being tagged, there's nothing better. You swoop on any of those.
Big 10 in his draft. Lockie O'Brien's a listed at the end of last year, re-rookie, and a starter in round 1 under new coach Michael Voss from the boundary throw-in. DeConey's hand pass back into dispute. G. O'Brien, he's spun around 360 by Newcomb, holding the ball. It's a heavy tackle. The 20-year-old Newcomb to take the free.
It's just trademark Corby, that, isn't it, really?
Here's our guy, Chankwath Jaffe, takes the mark at centre half back and then just jams a high ball down the members' wing. Reeves competes. It spills to Bruce. Hawthorn still with it. Hand pass to Warple. Kicks deep inside the forward 50. Moore at the back. Centrefield. Great work. Held Moore out and hugs it to his chest, just protecting the drop zone. Fullback for Carlton.
Approaching half-time. A good quarter for the Hawks. They kicked 3 goals to the Blues. 2-4. Williams out of defence. Up towards Hewitt, who takes the mark at right half back. Carlton with an electric start to this match, kicking 7 goals to 1 in the opening term. Short to Owies now, who has it at right half back, up to the wing. Walsh in front, takes the mark with O'Meara right there with him. Jagger O'Meara, the acting captain, with Ben McAvoy out for an extended period of time. Walsh seems to be moving okay after that knock to the right knee. In the middle of the second quarter, up to Owies, who runs in the middle of the wing, southern side. Now looks to drive a long kick towards half forward. Tom de Koning's there. Harry Mackay as well. Granger Barras takes the mark for the Hawks and he's off back inside the defensive 50.
To Daniel Howe, the sub. And he's on for Scrimshaw, who's hurt his shoulder in the opening quarter. Kicks right on the bell to centre half back. And time expires on the first half. A battle of 2 undefeated teams, really a throwback to the late 80s with a big roll up on a Sunday at the G. And Carlton lead Hawthorn by 30 points. At half-time, it's the Blues 9-5-59, Hawthorn 4-5-29. The goal kickers, 6 of them for Carlton, 2 for Silvani, Mackay and Curnow. Singles to Cripps, Durden and Owies. While for Hawthorn, Dylan Moore has 2, Luke Bruce has 2. And that'll do us, 9 goals to 4. A 5-goal lead for Carlton at half-time.
The thoughts of Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Well, they wrestled the game back on their terms then, Hawthorn, didn't they? Like the pressure around the ball was evident that they lifted their rating in that area. They needed to anyway after quarter time, but they did, and they go in 5 goals down now. They would have liked to have probably got another one on the board because they did have good momentum there in the back end of that quarter, but Bruce showed his class by kicking those 2 clever goals. But I think Sam Mitchell will be pretty happy with the way in which they responded in that second term. They're not going to go bang, 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 but they can chip away at it. It's only half-time. 5 goals of difference. They showed last week they can score quick and can use the ball really well against Port. So this game's not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I think we saw last night that 5 goals is nothing in today's day and age, especially with the the 6-6-6 rule and going back to the centre bounce, you can't throw those numbers behind the footy like you could in yesteryear. What impressed me, though, was a first-year player coming out from Hawthorn and saying, you know what, we spoke about getting your hands on the footy more. Josh Ward has 12 touches in that quarter. Like, he's just saying, well, and he got mowed down by big Harry Mackay. I learnt this lesson very early too. Sometimes when the crowd starts to cheer, you think you're out, but you're not. It's because someone's going to mow you down. Yeah, and he just learned to read those cues at times, and might necessarily do a little head check in future. But I love that he backs himself. And the next play, he's saying, "Right, I'm going to tuck it under the arm." So I hope that the message went to Josh and said, "Righto, mate, keep going for those because that's what's breaking the game open." And not just him, but CJ Giath, his run and carry. It's not always pretty. But what he does is, because he's playing chaos, it just creates things up the field, and you know that he's going to open up the game, change angles. And I've also liked the return of Will Day. I think he's assured him across centre-half back, taking some nice intercept marks, and just makes good decisions with the footy going forward, something that they've probably lacked a little bit over the last few months, as well as the return of Sicily, who's no doubt a star. And as you called, I think it was you, Clinchy, that said most guys would have spoiled there as defenders, but not James Sicily. No, I'll take the mark and turn it over and get it in our hands.
The old traditional defenders with the spoil to the boundary. So the Hawks have lost Jack Scrimshaw in his 50th game, unfortunately. Subbed out of the match, and Daniel Howe came in after quarter time. So the Blues dominated the clearances in the opening term. Sam Mitchell was able to arrest a bit of that, but do you feel like for Hawthorn, probably the main area of improvement is trying to get a bit more of that connection between their midfielders and their forward 50? Mitch Lewis, such a great contested mark starting the season. We haven't seen a lot of that, even though Luke Bruce and Dylan Moore have been their most dangerous targets.
Well, on the 3 or 4 occasions which they have got deep inside 50s and got good entries, and Bruce has been on the end of a couple of them, they actually have got the ball in the half-back flank and decide to hit that 45 kick and really make the Carlton midfield zone really look around and see who's there. So they need to keep on backing their leg, and that's something that's always been something that Sam Mitchell did throughout his whole career. So there's no doubt that he's training them in that area, and that's what they did really well against Port Adelaide last week on a tough ground where it's almost pretty easy to zone. They actually cut through Port Adelaide really well last week, and on the few occasions, as I said, that they've scored today, they actually have done that and backed their leg in. So they need to keep on doing that. There's obviously going to be times where you need to bail out and go long to your key targets and set up that way, but the times where you got to back in your leg, trust the process, trust your training, and just have a go at your kicks, because you do get results from it.
I think just to back that up as well, Clinch, is that Gunston and Lewis have been running hot the first 2 rounds, so obviously time goes into them. You know, when you're leaning towards it, you see the midfielders, where they're going, their eyes are going towards these big key targets. The key backs for Carlton have been able to read the cues on that, and they're sitting off in front. It's making it really hard for Gunston. I don't think he touched the footy that quarter. He tried to buy one from in about 35 metres out, but Mitch Lewis only had the one as well. So the other options are popping up because there's so much focus going towards them. So well done by the Hawks mids to identify that, but once they can get Lewis and Gunston into the game, the Hawks will chip away at this 5-goal deficit, no worries at all.
I know how much of a pro Jacob Wiedering is too. He would have seen some of the media around Mitch Lewis and obviously seen the way in which he's played in the first 2 weeks, and he would have seen, this is my opportunity just to really clamp on and make sure he doesn't really get a look in, and he's done a great job of that so far, along with his other defenders helping him out, and in Lockie Plowman and Youngie, and obviously the running defenders. There's no doubt Jacob Wiedering would have looked at that during the week.
Obviously no Austin McDonald, no Adam Sard, no Mitch McGovern, so he's very much the leader in that back half, with a couple of younger guys, Louis Young getting his opportunity, and we touched on Jordan Boyd on debut. So from the outside, it sounds like he's the ultimate professional, Weeds, and very much running the ship back there.
He certainly is, and he does set up everyone really well around him, and that's what you want. He's almost like the quarterback, just setting up guys around him and just instructing him where to go. He's really developed in that area of his leadership and his voice. He's certainly a star of the competition. I said previously, I reckon he should be already a 2-time All-Australian, but he's just sort of fallen foul of the selectors for whatever reason. But yeah, he's right up there in my books, and he does set up Doc really well. Doc's obviously a leader down there as well, and sets up the other guys around him. They just know, when you've got 2 debutants down there in the back half, sometimes he can get exposed, but they haven't been so far. That's because of the good work in which Weeders does, and Doc as well.
Is this a Michael Voss invention, or did you guys do this as well, the chairs sitting around in your circles in the change rooms?
I reckon that's probably most teams would do that.
Yep.
In your lines.
In your lines, you sit there in your forward group, your defenders and your mids, and talk about what's working, what's not. Is there some areas to improve on? So I think that's something that most teams will do. But Vossi's obviously got them well oiled at the moment.
Thoughts of Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio, Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch and Jess Webster with you down on the boundary. The Blues leading at halftime by 30 points, 9-5-59 to the Hawks 4-5-29. We'll have regular score updates from St Kilda and Richmond this afternoon, and the Western Derby coming up later on this afternoon between the West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers. For the moment, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has praised his country's troops who are defending the key southern port city of Mariupol. The devastated city has been under relentless Russian bombardment since the start of the invasion in February. Most residents remain trapped there by fighting, but the Red Cross's attempts to establish a safe corridor for escape and for aid to reach others have been frustrated for the third straight day. Ukrainian government advisor Yuri Sak accuses Russia of sabotaging the humanitarian effort.
Russia is deliberately blocking any efforts by Ukraine, International Red Cross. Russia wants to deport those people to Russian-controlled territory, which it has already done. There needs to be a ceasefire. If there is no ceasefire, this is an operation that cannot be conducted.
A senior Ukrainian negotiator who's taken part in talks with Russia says the two sides have reached verbal agreement on a number of issues. David Arakmear has told Ukrainian television that they both agree on the need for a referendum in Ukraine on whether the country should become neutral. He says Crimea, which Russia annexed 8 years ago, remains a point of disagreement. Mr. Arakmear says the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had offered to host talks between Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin. However, no date or venue has been set at this stage. Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg has conceded months of Liberal Party infighting and factional brawling in New South Wales has been less than ideal. Liberal candidates have only just been selected and endorsed in 9 federal New South Wales seats, despite an imminent federal election campaign. A court case about whether the federal executive can take control of rank and file members continues to track through the New South Wales Court of Appeal. Mr. Frydenberg has conceded on insiders that it's problematic.
Well, it's less than ideal to say the least, and obviously I'm glad that it's been sorted out now. But don't think that we're the only side of politics that's had issues in our own divisions. Sure.
The Victorian government has once again accused the Commonwealth of not investing any money into helping the state recover from the impact of COVID-19. The state government has today revealed its $1.5 billion plan to boost elective surgery after significant disruption during the pandemic. Measures include training more nurses, opening theatres for longer hours, more public patients treated in private hospitals, and establishing rapid access hubs in metropolitan public hospitals. Frankston Private Hospital in Melbourne's southeast will also be transformed into a public surgery centre next year. Deputy Premier James Merlino says the federal government was asked to assist with funding, but refused.
This is clearly, unambiguously, an issue we are dealing with that is directly impacted by COVID. Yet we saw in the federal budget just days ago that COVID support is going from $1.5 billion for Victoria to zero.
Western Australia has reported 6,439 new cases of COVID-19 and 3 historical deaths. WA Health says there are 221 people in hospital with the virus, with 7 of them in intensive care. It says the 3 historical deaths can be dated back to March the 26th, but were reported yesterday. The deaths include a man in his 80s, a man in his 90s, and a woman in her 90s. Of the positive cases, 2,778 were identified by PCR tests. The remaining 3,661 were from self-reported rapid antigen tests. A man has died today in a single vehicle accident in Canberra's south. Emma Thompson reports.
ACT police say they were called to Erindale Drive early this morning after reports a car had driven through a guardrail and into the embankment below. The man was declared deceased at the scene. The northbound lanes of Erindale Drive have been closed from the Selwood Drive intersection, and nearby walking trails have also been closed. Canberrans are being asked to avoid the area while an investigation is carried out. It's the 4th road fatality in the capital this year. Police are investigating the sexual assault of a 15-year-old boy at Sydney's Central train station.
A man allegedly detained the boy in a toilet on the Country Trains concourse yesterday. Police say the man then boarded the train to Mortdale around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. ABC News.
We are one. I was 4.5 years of age when they took me off my mother, and at 56 I learned that I was an Aboriginal woman. I started writing at 70. I'll never stop writing and sharing those stories.
90 years of your stories.
I am Auntie Ruth, I am Gungari, and I am 92 years young.
90 years of the ABC.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Mitchell, middle of the ground, pops it up over halfway, Moore runs onto it, shakes the Doherty tackle, he was taken high, gets up, takes the advantage, kicks it, Goldwood, and kicks it through.
Kicks to the lead of Harry Mackay. Frost was there, sported away with good support from Howe, running onto it, Owies. Hardy gets the boundary, squares it up, here's Charlie. Charlie Curnow takes the mark 30 metres out directly in front. Charlie Curnow shooting for his second. As you heard there, straight through the middle, another one for the Blues.
Bruce spun around, lost it, spills to Cripps, hands it to Doherty's, kicks smothered, ricochets back into dispute, centre half forward for the Hawks. Ward releases a hand pass to Bruce, shoots out of traffic, and Bruce pops it through.
Kicks up towards Mitch Lewis, won't get to him. Williams dropped the mark, Dylan Moore onto it, hand pass to Nash, Hawthorn inside the 50, Bruce on the lead, he's got it. In the left forward pocket, he takes the mark. Bruce wastes no time, steps out, snaps across his body and puts through his second.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Sunday afternoon footy from the MCG as round 3 of the AFL continues, and it's the Blues leading by 30 points, 9-5-59 to the Hawks 4-5-29. Despite Hawthorn in that second quarter kicking 3 goals to Carlton's 2, it's still the Blues who are comfortably on top at the main break. Matt Clinch alongside Corbin Middlemats call the action. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio are your experts, with Jess Webster down on the boundary. Of course, after this match, we'll be taking you to the Sunday Footy Forum with Clint Weldon, Jake Nile and Mark Duffield. We'll include in that around the grounds of St Kilda and Richmond from Docklands. Andrew Mays will be on hand there, and then the derby taking place from the west with the West Coast Eagles taking on the Fremantle Dockers.
The what, sorry, Clinchy?
The Derby.
The Derby.
I did say Derby. I slipped in a bit of Derby Day Victoria style there. The Derby.
They'll be hot on you.
They will be. Yeah, you know where to find
me.
me.
Why did they change that? Why? What is it?
It's a Western Derby.
Why though?
Is this what they call it over in the West?
Backward.
Yeah, so it's a WA thing. It's Derby as opposed
Derby
to
Day.
The Derby.
Yeah, it is one of those things you every now and then just forget about it, and then you remember it is the Derby.
Yeah. It's actually spelt Derby, by the way.
It is. Yeah. And that's why I don't understand why it's even Derby Day. Like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, it's actually a nice little segue because a photo did come across our desk. Now, Murph's a new member of our team, so I'm kind of reluctant to mention this, but I don't know if this was a racing promotion, but 2 number 1 draft picks in suits. And can you describe to me, Lids, what was going on?
Well, I assume you're talking about the one that Quinny put up on Twitter.
Yes.
The Maya, I think we were Maya Men Ambassadors or something like that, Murph. And we both had to just turn up to the
Derby Day.
Was it Derby Day? It probably was Derby Day. I remember turning up, probably sounding a bit like this, because I'd just come off Sean Griggs' Bucks up in Noosa for about an hour. I was no good there. And Murph, dressed to the nines, absolutely looking at a treat. But you're a real race goer. I'm not so much. It wasn't really my go.
Well, you turned up with Grigger though, didn't you?
Yeah, so I said, mate, you can't let me down here. I've just been away with you. I know how hard this is going to be. You have to come.
Well, I was pumped because I was expecting a big day. The races with a few of the boys, and obviously Lids and Grigger, played with Grigger as well. So I thought, this will be perfect. I'll have a few bets and a few beers and maybe a few jam donuts. But unfortunately, Lids couldn't help me out after about an hour and a half. Just went home.
That's it, mate. I'd had my fair share, that's for sure. But you latched on to Daisy and Billy Slater and all that crew, so I didn't fit in there.
What about the pose, though, in particular?
Yeah, so paint the picture for our listeners, Corby.
I would say it's Mark Murphy sort of doing a clench fist, looking down at his hand, and Brett Delidio standing behind him, just hanging on to the bicep.
I think I whispered to him.
How strong he looks.
I remember what it was like to have arms like that, but not
That's
anymore.
a strong get up from you two. You've got I would say that's almost a bone-coloured chino.
Yeah.
With a purple shirt and a navy jacket.
Obviously, someone else dressed me because I do not dress like that.
And Merv's looking very sharp in more of a lighter blue. The white button and white accent and a grey shirt.
Yeah. Well, before everyone turns off, let's move on to...
So a couple of the more photogenic members of our ABC Sport team, and they look absolutely splendid there. In the Women's World Cup, the innings break there, so through 50 overs, Australia 5 for 356. Talia McGrath unbeaten on 8, and Elise Perry with 17 from 10 deliveries. So Lisa Healy, the star of the show, 170 from 138 deliveries. Puts her right in those companies of the highest individual scores in a World Cup final, Corby. You think of Adam Gilchrist in 2007, 149. Ricky Ponting, I think, posted 140 unbeaten in 2003. Viv Richards, 138. Not to mention Mitchell Stark when you think of World Cup big efforts. So a good husband-wife combination there when it comes to the big stage. And as the Traralgon Tiger puts out gets in touch in the SMS, 0437 774 774. Win the toss in a final, you bat.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times you bat, and then you think about bowling and you bat. Well, England decided to bowl, and they paid the full toll there.
So the target 357. I mean, as players, and you guys have obviously played at the highest level with great success for a lot of years, I think you just want a reputation, don't you, as someone that delivers on the big stage?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so now Elisa Healy's played 2 finals. She got, 130 in one and 170 in the next, in the semi-final and the final.
You can count on her, can't you? I think that's ultimately what you want to be judged on, is how you perform when the stakes are the highest. And she stands up, she puts her hand right up and says, yep, you can count on me, girls, no worries at all. I'll, for one, go out there and face a new rock and take the heat of that, but then to perform and put a 170 on the board, jeepers.
And usually you're relaxed once you get to the ton, so it's like I'll start taking a few liberties here and there, but to put your head down and just keep on hitting them straight and hitting them long for 170 and 130 respectively in 2 big finals, it's incredible.
I wouldn't know what it's like though. Once you hit the ton, I've only done it once in under 17s. It wasn't the greatest form.
So 100 against the West Indies and now 100 against England in the final for Elisa Healy. NRL action this afternoon. Round 4 of the competition continues. The Melbourne Storm across the road taking on the Canterbury Bulldogs, and the Parramatta Eels against St George Illawarra. If you missed Offsiders this morning, yes. Corby, of course, was there looking in his traditional best. So you can catch up with that on iView. And I should say Simon Smale is also doing a live blog of that Women's World Cup final. So abc.net.au/sport, of course, is your home for all the latest breaking news.
No surprise, there are 3 Victorians who love their cricket in this box. No one's mentioned the Sheffield Shield final, which is happening over in Perth. It is lunch on day 4. WA 5 for 134. They're effectively 5 for 214. So that's the lead. Victoria need to run down whatever they restrict WA to win the Shield. So WA have taken the advantage on the bonus point, which means if it ends up in a draw, WA win. There's 4 sessions left in that Shield match at the WACA ground, and he's actually shaping up to be a pretty neat finish. So 214 the lead, 5 down. The Vics need to get him out and then chase down whatever's left, or WA, a draw will be good enough for them to claim their first Sheffield Shield since, 98, 99.
So having lived in 4 states, are you still a sandgroper at heart?
I am with the WA Shield team. I couldn't really care about the Scorchers and a bunch of their other sides, but
the Scorchers are pretty handy too, aren't they?
They are.
They win the Big Bash this year?
They won. And
are they 4-timers?
Something like that. WA won the 50-over comp, so they're going for the 3-peat to win all 3 formats this year.
All right. Players are in position. We're ready to go for the second half. Sunday afternoon footy. The Blues by 30 points. Here's Corby.
7 goals to 1 for Carlton in the opening quarter, and they've protected that lead since. Second half underway. Pitternet down to Hewitt. Hand pass to Cripps. Feeds it away to Chera. Gets the centre break. Kicks to half forward. Off the hand of Sicily. Into the punt to Curnow. He shoots goalward, but he's off target. And this is out to the left. Charlie, who's kicked 2 in the first half. The showers forecast this afternoon, but we haven't had any rain as yet, despite the thick grey veil which hangs over the MCG. It's a 31-point lead for Carlton.
Hardwick brings the Hawks back into play, long towards Reeves. Mitch Lewis in the back, flew as well. Spoiled down from the back by Young, front and centre. Hewitt kicks inside the 50, setting himself. Frost takes the mark. Off and bounding out of defence. kick was just in the middle of Bruce and O'Meara. Nick Newman smart enough to gather for the Blues. Sends them back into attack. Charlie Curnow backpedaling. Bounce off the head of Sicily. Chance for the Blues at the top of the goal square. Durden locked up just as he was about to break clear. Denver Granger Barras lays the tackle to lock things up at the top of the goal square for the Blues.
Throw a blanket over 20 plays here as Reeves reaching over the top, palms it down to Mitchell. He's gang tackled. Umpire calls for a ball up. Really healthy crowd. I think at least sort of low to mid-50s. I think there may be even more than that, but Hawthorn trying to clear the footy off the back flank as Morrison got it to McDonald. Nice fend off and then kicks long down the southern wing for Hawthorn. Fist comes in from Lewis Young, finds the boundary line. The former Bulldog. The boundary throw in.
Geez, you backpedaled on the...
Are you going to give us a number, Corby?
I'm in the sixes. I'm going to go...
Well, you just said low mid-50s.
Yeah, you did say mid-50s. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just over 6. Just over 60,000.
Okay. Thrown back in. Pitnet and Reeves in a tangle. Comes down the way of Tom Mitchell. Shovels out a hand pass.
You guys have got to commit too.
55. Chera works it up to Silvani. Takes the mark. Hand pass to O'Brien. Kicks inside the 50. Charlie Curnow takes the mark. So hard to stop in a one-on-one marking battle. And despite James Sicily's best work, he took the mark, runs out, snaps open and kicks his third. There's no stopping Charlie. And Carlton with the opening goal of the second half through 2 minutes extend their lead out to 37 points. 10-6-66 to the Hawks, 4-5-29.
Well, you wouldn't know he's had 2 or 3 years out of football and had issues with that knee, because at the moment he's got a spring in his step, and that's probably his third grab where he's been one-on-one and just risen above. And Sicily's no slouch either. He's almost an all-Australian defender, really, in years to come, no doubt. And
just caught in a good position, though, wasn't he?
He was, but Charlie's just got that leap at the moment. Looks really nice, and I think the Carlton fans will be loving what they're seeing from Charlie.
But what enabled that to happen was that quick handball from Jack Silvani onto O'Brien. If he goes back over his mark there, his defenders flood back, and then Charlie doesn't get the run and jump at it.
Give me a number, Lids.
61.
Oh, you've joined him now.
You're over the 60,000 mark as well. Quick clearance here for the Hawks as the kick from Newcombe down to half forward. But Doherty there for the Blues. Off the back flank, hand pass away to Plowman, links up with Hewitt, kicks into centre square. Cripps takes the mark, shakes Mitchell, runs through the centre of the G, kicks to centre half forward. Only Hawks up, and Frost takes the intercept mark at centre half back.
Feeds the hand pass back to Sicily, out to Howe, the sub into the action for Scrimshaw after quarter time. Kicks inboard on the 45 to Tom Mitchell. Wants a switch play to left half back. Morrison takes the mark. The brown and the gold controlling possession as he goes short to Newcombe on the members wing. Wants to kick in to CJ. Takes the mark, backpedaling. Walsh careful not to give away a 50-metre penalty. Jack wants to play on immediately, trying to step around him. Kicks out to Morrison. Can slip past centrefield. He lost his footing. Sends Hawthorn deep in attack. Mitch Lewis out, marks on his chest. The seas parted in front of him, and Lewis was able to hang on to it. He's on a 45-degree angle, 25 metres out. Doesn't want to waste any time. Steps out, snaps across his body. Mitch Lewis answers straight back for the Hawks. He is able to steer through his first goal of the match. And the Hawks fifth. They're 5-5-35 to the Blues, 10-6-66. 4.5 minutes gone, third term.
I think if Will Setterfield has his time again, he needs to be able to hold up Harry Morrison. It's exactly what all forwards and Hawthorn want, is the ability to get it in and get it in quick. Setterfield he flew across Harry Morrison, just stepped in and didn't need to get the ball or the body, as we were always taught, Murph, when we were defending. But it was a nice, clever little block that just allowed Mitch Lewis to get free and have a clean run at it and stop Young from being able to impact that footy. And as we see again, another key forward going around the body rather than opting for the straight drop home.
Crowd prediction, Murph?
I said 53 earlier, I'll stick with it. Ooh. Even though there's probably a few more have come in since.
Back in the middle, Reeves wins it down. O'Meara, hand pass away to Warple. He links up with Day off the back of the square. This kicks into space out on the southern wing. It pitches and stays inside the field of play. McDonald hunts out after it, inadvertently soccers it out.
I just feel there's some good social distancing going on amongst the crowd, so they're spread out quite nicely.
You're the only one who's seen the whole crowd when you're in the back of the ute. We're going from our broadcast spot.
Carlton by 31, 6 played in the third from the boundary throw-in. Reeves again. First hands to it, down to Kennedy's hand pass and turnover. Hawthorn back with it. O'Meara to Day. Day swings his hand pass out to Daniel Howe. The sub who's on for Scrimshaw, injuring his shoulder in quarter number 1. Short to Big Reeves. The ruckman looks inside 50 onto the chest of Zach Williams. Out to meet it at centre half back for Carlton.
Who's off and running, 1-2 with Kennedy. Long kick to half forward, not a good kick for Harry Mackay or Charlie Curnow. The intercepting mark taken by Frost. Out to the southern wing where the mark's taken by Howe. Looks further afield, wants Warple. Kick won't get to him, and O'Brien floating in front takes the mark for Carlton. Left half back. Blues by 31 points. A goal apiece so far in this third term. Goes all the way back inside the defensive 50, and Lewis Young has it. The former Dog kicks up to half back. Good kick that spotted Hewitt. Wants to get the hand pass away, and O'Brien's away.
He gives it to Silvani, drawing the defender. Silvani takes on one tackler, caught by the second. Spun out of the Nash tackle, and then Warple never gave up on the chase. Runs him down on the logo. Dangerous kick back in the middle of the ground. Pitternet just thumps it away with his fist 40 metres. But at centre half back, Sicily goes wide to Frost. He kicks in the middle of the ground for Day. Here's your man leads. Will Day kicks out to the broadcast wing. Hardwick takes the mark. The Hawks going forward again. Hardwick, long kick to Gunston. One-on-one with Plowman. Gunston trying to hug it to his chest. Can't complete the mark. Bounces out of play. Half forward for Hawthorn.
It's a tough role, the half-forward small role, isn't it? I've watched Finn McGuinness break so hard for the last 2 or 3 occasions. It's been overlooked on every time, poor fella.
Toss back in. Reeves in a tangle with Pitnet, but Pitnet wins down the tap to the front of the pack. O'Meara trying to keep it alive. It rolls out of play in front of he and Lockie Plowman for a throw-in.
A lot of unrewarded running that half-forward line. I remember Ben Cousins used to speak about Rowan Jones a lot and his ability just to get up and back and cover off. I think Finn McGuinness is playing a very similar role.
I think of guys like Ed Langdon now who are such good gut runners that just cover the ground, keep their lateral space. Free kick in the ruck contest going the way of Mark Pitnet against Reeves. Feeds the hand pass around the back to Doherty. Kicks to half back at Hewitt. The former Swan takes the mark.
It's an excellent Rowan Jones reference too on the broadcast on a Sunday afternoon.
Tickle you fancy that one, did it?
Yeah, big throwback.
Hewitt long towards the wing. Charlie Curnow was the only one who flew. Dropped the chest mark. Sicily kicks towards half forward. Gunston went early. Wiedering with a fist down. Pinching at Warple. Fended off. Centrefield did well. Kicks to the pocket on the bounce. Mitch Lewis can't get onto it. Young slaps it back into play. Found Nick Newman. Lost his footing. Wingard got him. Wants the free kick. Umpire says throw it in. And the Chad pleads his case with the ball to be tossed back in. 40 metres out from the Hawks goal at the punt road end.
I reckon Juddy used to talk a lot about Rowan Jones too. He must have done a lot of work for those blokes over there in the West Coast midfield at their prime.
Boundary throw in to Koning, had hands on it, spills down to Hewitt, steps his way through traffic, hand pass to Newman. On the lefty kicks off the back flank out to Curnow, but Granger Barras drops in the hole and takes the intercept mark for Hawthorn. Across the ground to Ward, kicks to centre half forward, got it to Mitchell, dropped the mark right at the last moment. The pressure from the Blues. Williams away to Newman, hot hand pass to centre half back, turnover, Day on it for Hawthorn, hand pass to McDonald. Back into the pack, and there's a free here for a push as Cripps just sits on top of Dylan Moore, gives away the free, and at centre half forward he can take it for Hawthorn. He gets up inside the centre square, pops it out into the path of Lewis. It's brought down in front by Kennedy. Doherty's high up and under, still a live ball top of the goal square for the Hawks, but Wiedering back, hand pass to Setterfield. He hits up Walsh, and Sam Walsh, the blue chipper for Carlton, takes the mark at right half back.
Possession number 20 coming up, equal leading possession high with Matt Kennedy on the ground. Sends it towards the southern wing. Charlie Curnow the target. Cripps came in from the side, spoiled it down. Morrison back to Granger Barras, lost it with a hand pass forward. Owies pinches it, kicks towards Harry. Can't pull in the mark with Frost right there with him. Nash came in to offer support. Mackay still scraps forward at ground level. Hand pass out. Nash has another go at it. Finn McGuinness tackled, trying to break his way through. Fisher for Carlton. Back to Cripps. Gets it to Setterfield. Good smother from CJ. Jack sees the ball out of play in front of the two benches. Carlton leading by 31 points. 10 minutes gone, third term.
Just a bit blindsided, the umpire was there. Finn McGuinness, a bit stiff not to get a high.
Carlton kicking 7 straight goals to end the opening quarter, and that's why they lead the game by 31. From the boundary throw-in, it comes Chera's way off the back flank. Hand pass to Boyd on debut. Long kick down the line. Silvani bangs bodies with Jath, and the ball disappears out of play as Dave knocks it out, coming across the front of the pair. Thought on well, Hawthorn, after falling 40 points behind in the second quarter. They've kicked 3 of the last 4. It's hard to think where their sort of scoring burst is going to come from, the same way that Carlton produced those 7 in a row in the opening quarter. To Koning, Sockers at the half forward for the Blues. Hewitt spun around in the tackle, gives it to Fisher. Hand pass to centre field. He straightens up and Lockie O'Brien marks. Centre half forward for Carlton. He's 50 out. He's not happy with the distance. He kicks for Silvani. He goes for the climb on Jath. Didn't touch the footy and gives away the free. Shankwathe will take it last line of defence for Hawthorn.
Not sure he needed that. No. Did he? He had to sit on him. Just wasn't the option. He had, I think, Newman and Kennedy working hard to run into some space. He just needed to just chip it over the top. Unfortunately, went for Jack Silvani in the pocket.
Jaff runs the boundary line and then kicks a long ball towards Mitch Lewis at half-back. Sets himself, got underneath it with Young there. Gathered by De Koning, kicks towards Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. Both flew, couldn't take the mark. Front centre Ward in there, got it to Frost and now to Morrison. Hawthorn through the middle of the ground. Awkward ball for Jack Gunston. Can't quite gather. Wiedering's tap was straight to Warple. Gets the hand pass to Nash. Mitch Lewis is pushed forward. He marks. Hand passes over the top. Bruce no one between he and the goal mouth. Now he works it over. McDonald has it. Right on the goal line. Connor McDonald was streaming forward. And the Hawks had them on the burst. 2-1 Hawthorn's way in this third term, which is now 13 minutes old. It's still the Blues 10-6-60. Hawthorn 6-5-41. The Blues by 25 points.
It was a big contest there in the middle of the ground. Unfortunately, Wiedering just couldn't get quite enough purchase on the spoil and just sort of just whacked it forward as hard as he could. But unfortunately, whacked it about 2 or 3 metres in front. Warple was good enough to win the ball and feed it out. And to get the ball forward is pretty unselfish ball use there by the Hawthorn forwards and run into an open goal.
It was a nice kick from Connor Nash, wasn't it? Just waited perfectly for Mitch Lewis and unselfishly they just kept flicking it on to make the easy goal.
McDonald, one of 3 teenagers in the side for Hawthorn. A new, young, fresh look under Sam Mitchell. Off the square comes Hewitt. First touch for Carlton at the restart. Hand pass back into the middle as Kennedy trickles one to centre half forward. McGuinness, though, in the pack. Squeezes a kick into space on the wing for Hawthorn. Doherty, first one back for Carlton. Bangs it back from whence it came. And Curnow takes the mark at half forward. He's 60 out. He looks deep for De Koning against the boundary line. It was out on the full. And Jaff and De Koning both end up in the advertising hoardings, but a free kick for Hawthorn. Next to the behind post. Jaff will swing it across the goal face. And Hardwick marks in the opposite pocket for the Hawks.
Feeds the hand pass back to Jaff, running shotgun boundary side and then looks for options at half-back. Spots Connor McDonald, who takes the mark. Last goal scorer in the match. His second goal in AFL footy. He's featured in every game so far. Drives a kick up to the southern wing. Nash is there, waits for the hot flyers to arrive. Gunston brought it down to the front. Newman knocks it back, got it to Chera. Hand pass well tackled to O'Brien. In tight confinement, somehow squeezed a kick towards the boundary line. Owies is against 3. Cleverly tapped down for Hardwick for the Hawks. Got it back to Granger Barras. Back to CJ. Has it on centre half back. Into the middle of the ground for Sicily.
Sicily loads up from inside the centre circles. Kicks it deep. Bruce down there, flies for the footy, no mark. Falls front and centre. Here's Lewis. Tries to fend off. Wiedering's got him. Great tackle, Jacob Wiedering, in a goal-saving effort. Wins possession back for Carlton. Kick one already in the quarter. Mitch Lewis was in the right spot. Couldn't get around the trusty fullback for the Blues. And Wiedering goes short to Doherty at half-back.
Waits for Cripps to run along the boundary line. Spots him up between half-back and the wing. Carlton captain has it. He works it over the top. Zach Fisher's free. Fisher looks into the corridor. No options present. So now forced to turn onto his left-hand side. Nice little sidestep around Ward, and then pulls his kick and finds Durden. Marks it right half forward, feeds a hand pass back to Fisher, dumped by Sicily. As he got the hand pass away, long kick inside the 50. Jack sets himself. Good contested mark and he's away.
Jaff sends it out to the southern boundary line, finds McDonald. He turns and kicks deep, a one-on-one, not a great kick for Moore. Fighting on with Boyd, rides a heavy bump from Wiedering on the way through. Spills though to Gunston, Hawthorn are out. Over the southern wing, Newcombe takes a bounce, draws a defender, kicks it deep to Lewis. Plowman back on him, Plowman spoils over the boundary line. And a throw-in forward pocket for the Hawks.
The counter-attack's been great so far in this third quarter. The Hawks, they're really getting the ball well from CJ's taking a couple of good intercept marks and spreading hard. Some of the Hawthorn half-forwards are really getting out to the further side of the wing and creating great options for their half-backers.
Midway through the third, Carlton by 25. Both rucks miss it from the boundary throw-in. Spills down to Fisher, knocks it away to Newman. Hand pass went to Lewis though with the Hawks. Hand pass on to McDonald, chucks it on the boot, back with the flight, and Williams knocks it through for a rush behind. Just not enough purchase on the kick. And a behind for Hawthorn. Carlton's lead cut to 4 goals neat, 10-6 to 6-6, 17 played in the third term.
Been impressed with Mitch Lewis to start this third quarter. He's been involved in a lot of their scoring opportunities so far and very clever there with the hands.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sports. Zach Williams sends it long towards De Koning and Pitnet. Neither can take the mark. Nash falling over, got a hand pass forward to Newcombe. Underground hand pass to McGuinness. Hard against the boundary. Fisher throws him across. The ball stayed in though. Now he gathers. 1-2 with Cripps. The Blues through O'Brien at half back. Kicks towards Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. Harry took the mark against Granger Barras. Streaming inside the attacking 50 is Durden. Sends it in that direction. Hung in the air a while. Hardwick got back, made body contact, and the ball rolls end over end. Now up against the right behind post. A boundary throw in. The Blues deep in attack, leading by 24 points.
Both Setterfield and Kennedy screaming forward in the middle of the ground. Big Harry opened up his vision, not just look forward.
Carlton by 24. Boundary throw in. De Koning wins it down. Mitchell has a fumble but spills it to his teammate Morrison. Jams it on the boot out of the defensive arc. Wingard and Newman at the drop. Newman paid the mark. 60 out left, right half forward. Kicks in the Mackay direction. Fist comes from Frost, but into the path of Setterfield. Frost follows up with a great smother. Still at centre half forward for Carlton. Kennedy collects, kicks into the pocket. Jaff back with it. He was pushed front on by Chera. And a free kick for Jaff, back pocket, Hawthorn. 19 played third term, Carlton by 4 goals. They did lead by as many as 40 points midway through that second quarter.
In the Women's World Cup, Australia posted 5 for 356. Elisa Healy with 170. The innings break there. Day out of defence from the back pocket up to Dylan Moore, who marks it right half back. Southern side of the ground. Warple offers a lead, that's ignored. Wants to come inboard, kicks for Bruce, risky kick. Plowman spoils it down for Carlton. Got it to Cripps. The hand pass away to Fisher. Careful with a kick towards half forward. Out towards Owies. He runs onto the footy at right half forward. Kicks long, looking for Charlie Curnow. Harry Mackay's there as well. Brought down by Frost. Hardwick front and centre. Hand pass to Moore. To Granger Barras. Out of defence for the Hawks. To Mitch Lewis on the wing. Young got a fist in there. Spoils it down. Howe front and centre for Hawthorn. To Wingard. To Lewis. Taps it back to Wingard. They're away.
So Wingard just along the boundary line to Bruce. Measured approach. Wiedering deep, guarding Gunston. The kick's coming in their direction. Gunston bangs bodies with Wiedering. Wiedering spoils. Spills down to Kennedy. Knocks it back to Boyd, who clears the defensive arc. Bruce got hands to the kick, couldn't take the mark. Spills to Chera. And there's numbers there for the Blues. He hands it to Newman, pokes the kick down the wing, and Owies at the drop takes the mark. Members wing, Carlton by 24.
Comes inboard with a kick for Chera, missed him. CJ the other way, ran into a dead end. Chera gets a hand pass forward. Fisher runs onto it and around. Granger Barras pulls his kick looking for Harry. It's wide of him. Frost with a crucial slap onto it. Trying to run onto it. Durden comes and puts the block on. Harry gathers 50 from goal. Hand pass to Setterfield. Inside the 50. Just over the hands of Walsh. Howe picks it up for the Hawks. Hand pass to Jaff. to Reeves. Don't give it to me. Gives it back to CJ. Now a bounce. He's out of defence.
Off he goes, Shankroft. He's had 2 bounces already. Runs a long way, then kicks it to half forward. Boyd got hands to it, no mark. Warple brings it down, trickles it along the ground to Bruce. Centre half forward, kicks for Wingard. Into the open goal. Hawthorn are coming. Make it 3 in a row for the Hawks. The deficit cut to 18. Carlton, who once led it by 40 at the 21-minute mark of the third term, lead at 10-6-66. Hawthorn 7-6-48. A goal to Chad Wingard. Jess Webster on the boundary.
Oh, that goal really brought the Hawks fans out of their seats. They loved it. And there's a noticeable shift in body language on the Hawks bench as well. They've worked themselves back into this contest nicely.
It's classic 12-point play that was. Zach Fisher running inside 50, just trying to be a little bit too unselfish. Could have been within his rights to have a shot, and unfortunately tried to palm it off. And
Setterfield missed kick as well. If that hit finds Walsh, they're settling. They're having a set shot on goal.
So a couple of missed opportunities up one end, and then Hawthorn on the counter-attack from CJ, who a couple of sneaky little 1-2s, which we love, and over the back to Wingard.
The Blues having kicked 7 goals to 1 in the opening term. The Hawks at 3 goals to 1 in this third term. Free kick holding the footy as Hewitt lays the tackle on Jager O'Meara. He'll be rewarded with a free kick in the middle of the ground. Sends it out to the southern wing where Doherty takes the mark. Can chip it over the top to centre field. Now where to for the Blues? He's got both De Koning and Mackay deep. Cripps is pushing across 50. Instead decides to retreat back by foot. Sam Doherty takes the mark.
Sounded like 60,000 people in the ground in it before. A bit worried at my 53 prediction.
I'm worried with 60 flat.
Carlton by 18 points. Doherty's kick intercepted and Dylan Moore takes the mark. Kicked the opening 2 goals for the Hawks. Back to Granger Barras on the top of the 50. All the way back to CJ. With that number 9 on his back that Sean Burgoyne most recently wore. Off an instep. Kick looking for Day. A chance for Chera. Couldn't pick it up. Silvani left it behind. Now got down low. Chera trying to knock it out. Could have almost been taken high. The pack forms on top, and the umpire will throw it up 48 metres out from the Blues goal. The city end of the MCG. Carlton by 18 points.
Newly named Shane Warne stand, the old great Southern stand. They're right at the back at the punt road end, as well as behind the goals at the Ponsford stand, the city end of the ground. From a stoppage, Newcomb wins it and then just bangs it into open space on the southern wing. Plowman can't collect it, then trips over in the other direction. Young comes up with a footy for Carlton. He thought about kicking it downfield and then just doubles back to hand it to Doherty. And he kicks in the defensive arc for Pettinet. The former Hawk, big Carlton ruckman, played 7 games with Hawthorn across 4 years. He's held down a spot at the Blues. He goes short back to Doherty. They've slowed him right down, the Hawks. Doherty for the Blues, kicks along to the wing. A fly from Mackay, no mark. Oh, he's passing through traffic, gives it back to Mackay. Short kick to Corey Durden, who's been pretty good up front. He kicks off his left boot down to half forward. Chera among 3 Hawks. And Denver Granger Barras takes the intercept mark for Hawthorn.
His confidence has grown throughout this match. Goes short to Frost outside the defensive 50, looking for options. Instead decides to go short, and Hardwick takes the mark. Feeds the hand pass to Day. De Koning off his chase. Just got his kick away at the last moment. Looking for Proust. Williams gets a fist in there towards the boundary line. O'Brien leads the foot race, but overran it. Nash onto it for the Hawks. Dodging and weaving away from the O'Brien tackle. Gets it back to Mitchell and back to Nash. Nice turn. Into the corridor. Opened up play. Kicks towards Mitchell. Lewis. Big fly. Can't come down with a footy. Reese stripped of it by Doherty holding the ball. And Sam Doherty will take it just short of half back in the middle of the centre square for the Blues.
Great position by big Ned Reeves, but probably not the guy you want picking it up at his toes, wanting to go inside 50.
Chance here for the Blues. Doherty short to Plowman. Goes on a run through the centre of the G. Drives it deep forward. Harry. The juggled mark. Mackay's got it. It was touched on the way through. The ump says play on. The Hawks lock him up. And a ball up, 30 out from the Carlton goal.
Sam Frost was filthy with that he's fallen over.
Blues by 18 points. Carlton found seeing the replay on the big screen. Reeves wins it down. Clearance for Newcomb. Hand pass away to Mitchell. He kicks to the members' wing. Newman gets across and knocks it out of play. And boy, this game's gone up a level. Carlton led by 40 points at the 7-minute mark of the second quarter. From that point on, Hawthorn have kicked 5 of the last 6 goals in the game. The Blues lead it by just 18 now. 26 travelled in the third.
Toss back into play. Pitnet knocked it down to the front, but straight to Tom Mitchell. His kick is turned over. Doherty with a hand pass to Walsh for Carlton. Kicks towards Silvani. Nudged underneath it. Sicily dropped the mark. Silvani dragged him down. He didn't have possession. And James Sicily will be a bit relieved by that. He had a bit of a meal of it on half back.
They've stood up well, haven't they, the Hawthorn defence? Carlton have nearly had 50 inside 50s already. They're sitting at 48 and Hawthorn currently at 33.
Sicily kicks towards Mitch Lewis. Not a great kick towards him. He ran underneath the foot. He palms it away from Wiedering and across the boundary line in front of the 2 benches. Carlton by 18 points. 26 minutes gone, third term, ABC Sport.
You're right, Murph. Sicily, Frost and Denver, Granger, Barras have set up really, really well, zoning a lot of space.
Reeves and Pitternet from the boundary throw-in. Reeves wins it down. Mitchell wanted a free, held without it. He's going to get it.
It's one of the great names, isn't it, Denver?
Granger
Barras.
Tremendous
doing
surname.
plenty.
Pick 6 in the 2020 draft out of Kalamunda, which is the Hills district in Western Australia. Playing his waffle footy with Swan Districts. He goes short here. Mitchell to Newcomb, long to the top of the goal square, off the pack. O'Brien last line, he rushes it through with the pressure from Howe. And a minor score, Carlton's lead cut to 17.
We'll give him a little professional fumble there, won't we?
I think so. 10-6 to 7-7.
Has he found his spot, Lockie O'Brien, on the wing, Murph?
Oh, he's an extremely hard worker, Lockie, so it's been great to see him get an opportunity. He played really well last week. It's probably his best game for the football club.
Zach Williams brings the Blues back into play. There was a shove in the marking contest. Cripps was brought down by Reeves. Pitnet took the mark regardless. Carlton have it at right half back. Big mark Pitnet. Looking for options down the members' wing. Sets it towards Harry. 2 to compete against. 3 in the end as CJ came across. McInnes over the footy. Chera tries to rip it clear. Silvani couldn't gather. Frost with a little toe poke towards the boundary line. Sam Walsh sees it out in front of Jager O'Meara for a boundary throw-in. Carlton by 17 points. 10-6-66 to the Hawks. 7-7-49. Almost at three-quarter time.
Pitternet and Reeves from the boundary throw-in. Pitternet palms it down to Silvani. And that's 3 quarters in the book. Carlton 7 goals to 1 in the opening quarter. And they led the game by as many as 40 in the second term. But Hawthorn have worked their way right back into it. They've kicked 5 of the last 6. And the Blues now lead it by 17. It's Carlton 10-6-66. Hawthorn 7-7-49. But the Hawks with all the momentum as we turn for home. The goal kickers in the game. First of all, for Carlton, we've got 3 for Charlie Curnow and then 2 for Silvani, Mackay, and then singles for Cripps, Durden and Owies. Meanwhile, for Hawthorn, I've got 2 for Moore, 2 for Bruce, and then singles to Lewis, Wingard and Connor McDonald. 10 goals to 7, Clinchy, Carlton by 17.
Three-quarter time at the MCG. A big Sunday of footy on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Massive interest rate cuts from the
25% increase in infectious.
Keep across the news that matters to you with the ABC Listen app.
Get up-to-the-minute local, national and world news. Live and on demand.
US and NATO officials believe...
In-depth investigations from ABC podcasts.
Like Triple J's Hack, ABC News Daily and many more.
All the news that matters to you.
With the ABC Listen app.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Chera works it up to Silvani. Takes the mark. Hand pass to O'Brien. Kicks inside the 50. Charlie Curnow takes the mark. So hard to stop in a one-on-one marking battle. And despite James Sicily's best work, he took the mark, runs out, snaps it open and kicks his third. Jack wants to play on immediately, trying to step around him. Kicks out to Morrison. Can slip past centrefield, who lost his footing. Sends Hawthorn deep in attack. Mitch Lewis out, march on his chest. The seas parted in front of him, and Lewis was able to hang on to it. Doesn't want to waste any time. Steps out, snaps across his body. Mitch Lewis answers straight back for the Hawks. Wiedering's tap was straight to Warple. Gets the hand pass to Nash. Mitch Lewis is pushed forward. He marks. Hand passes over the top. Bruce, no one between he and the goal mouth. Now he works it over. McDonald has it. Right on the goal line.
Off he goes, Shankloff. He's had 2 bounces already. Runs a long way, then kicks it to half forward. Boyd got hands to it, no mark. Warple brings it down. Trickles it along the ground to Bruce. Centre half forward, kicks for Wingard. Into the open goal. Hawthorn are coming.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Carlton led by as much as 41 points in the second quarter, but the Hawks with 3 goals to 1 in that third quarter has it back to a 17-point ball game. The Blues 10-6-66 to the Hawks 7-7-49. 2 unbeaten sides in round 3 of the AFL. 1 will continue on. After this match, we'll have around the grounds coverage of St Kilda taking on Richmond. To keep you across all of that, Andrew Bays, good afternoon.
Hello, Clinchy. It is the 7th year of Maddie's match here under the roof at the Docklands this afternoon. Time flies, and nice to see Jack Revolt on the ground, even though he's not playing this afternoon, pre-match with his kids as well. For St Kilda, a couple of changes. Dougal Howard comes back from the health and safety protocols. Paddy Ryder we see for the first time this year after he's recovered from an Achilles injury through the VFL, and Ben Long comes into the lineup as well. Cooper Sharman, Dara Joyce and Ryan Burns all omitted for Richmond. Just the one change, and Dylan Grimes is back, so that is good news for the Tigers. Ben Miller goes out. The subs for both teams this afternoon: Ben Long with the subs vest for the Saints. For Richmond, Jake Arts. So it's been an intriguing recent history between these two teams. In 2020, St Kilda won their first clash by 26 points. Richmond turned it around and beat them by 31 late in the season. Last year, Richmond won their first clash by 86 points. St Kilda won the second clash by 40 points. So 126-point turnaround. It has been a topsy-turvy relationship between these two teams. So looking forward for a bit of fun here under the roof on this Sunday afternoon. Hopefully Richmond can kick more than 2 goals, which is all they could muster at the MCG last time these two teams met. 2 goals, 10. So hopefully it's a bit more free-flowing than that this afternoon. Looking forward to bringing it to you all from here under the roof at Docklands. Clinchy.
Thanks, Maisie. Andrew Mays there, who will keep you across that match, not only for the last quarter here, but also in the Sunday Footy Forum with Clint Weldon, Jake Nile and Mark Duffield to follow this match, and then the Western Derby between the West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers. Carlton by 17 points at three-quarter time. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Well, Murph, I think it'll only take a quick one from Hawthorn here to start this last quarter for them to really gather their belief and think they can overrun Carlton, but and that's what we would like to see, a nice, tight, close game, especially with this big crowd here, everyone enjoying it. But as you, as a Carlton supporter, you're thinking, right, Blues, get out of the blocks, get this first goal of the last quarter, and let's see if we can put this game to bed. I think that's where we'll see the development of Carlton coming, is can they be that good side that just says, right, I'm going to just strengthen here, show the rest of the competition what we're all about, and just get the job done. I'm just wondering whether they've got that yet. They're still probably developing that belief in that ability to win and win these closer games. So it's all up to the Blues here, but can the Hawks get that first one and really make the game interesting?
Well, they'll take great confidence out of last week over there at Port Adelaide. So see some old face in Tom Mitchell and James Warple who have been getting the job done. But yeah, to that, Will Day and Josh Ward have been fantastic as well. See some of these young Hawks if they can get the ball forward here early.
The Blues showed their explosive best to start the match. Can the Hawks wear him down? Reeves made good body contact with Pitnet, one down the tap. Hewitt becomes the tackler as the ball is locked underneath James Warple for a ball up, still in the centre circles of the MCG. Thrown up. Reeves wins down the tap, straight towards Hewitt. Can't gather. Ward tries to knock it clear. Rolls end over end. Footy stuck underneath him for a moment, then Cripps emerges with it. Hand pass to Kennedy, almost dragged down by Mitchell. Gets a kick inside the 50. Sicily comes racing out, slaps it away from Curnow, straight to Howe. Back to Sicily and now to Morrison. And the Hawks out of defence with a kick to Moore.
Nice mark from Dylan Moore in front of the first gamer and Jordan Boyd. He's on the back flank though. He kicked Hawthorn's first 2 goals. And after being down by 40, Carlton, their lead has been cut to 17. The Hawks with all the momentum. The long kick down the wing. Lewis takes the mark for Hawthorn. Looks inside the centre square. Away towards the run of Morrison. He kicks for Wingard. Got hands to it. Can't mark. Spills to Kennedy. Hand pass away to Williams. Clears defensive 50, but straight to Howe. And Daniel Howe takes the mark. High half forward for Hawthorn. He just loads up and kicks it in the Bruce direction. Getting across and marking is Lewis Young in his first game for his new club. Last line of defence for Carlton. The Blues by 17, 90 seconds into the final term.
Young looks to set a high ball towards half-back. Charlie Curnow's there, Cripps as well. Lands short, Cripps can't take the mark. Sicily for Hawthorn, back to O'Meara, all the way back to the wing to Morrison. Hand passes back to Sicily at left half forward. Inbound 45 kick finds Ward. Still 60 out, no one on the mark, so decides to drive it long. Wingard the target, 3 against him. O'Brien got a fist to it, it rolls out. Up against the right behind post in front of McGuinness and Wiedering for a boundary throw-in.
Not sure even 2014, 2015 Chatty Wingard would have marked that against 3 when he's at his peak of his powers, but it's a learning curve for the young bloke going inside 50.
That needed showdown, Chad.
That's right.
Boundary throw-in, Reeves gets his hand to the footy. Forward pocket for the Hawks, but Newman stands up in the tackle with it. Gives it to Kennedy, just bangs it out of the defensive arc and finds the boundary line. Umpire says deliberate. Free kick Hawthorn.
Probably fair.
65 out, and Will Day first came back just cramping up in the calf, so he's going to have to dish off a hand pass to the top 10 picker last year in Josh Ward. Kicks inside 50, Reeves climbs up, can't mark. Spills down to Young for Carlton. Hand pass to O'Brien, back pocket. Kicks out to Curnow at half-back. Got a hand on it, but there's plenty of Hawks at ground level. Granger Barras away to McGuinness, to Ward, back to Denver, who keeps on running. Hand pass dangerous for Moore. Moore's dispossessed. Boyd wins it for Carlton. Hand pass away to Hewitt. Lost it in the tackle. Mitchell shoots, and Mitchell pops it through. Carlton's lead is evaporating. Once up by 40, they now lead by just 11. Carlton 10-6, 66. And a quick-fire goal for Tom Mitchell. Hawthorn to 8-7, 55. 3 minutes into the final term.
Well, they're under the pump at the moment, the Carlton defence, and they've probably had 3 or 4 exits where they've just banged it on the boot and just hoped for the best. And early in the game, they would have just tried to hit up someone, get an uncontested mark, get the ball back in their hands. But at the moment, the pressure from the Hawthorn forwards and their mid setting up well outside defensive 50, they're just allowing the ball to come straight back in, and they're getting their opportunities. And Tom Mitchell there, just great in the contest, and threw it on the boot, and little banana. Well, it ended up being a banana, didn't it?
It did. End over ender that just spun the right way. It was perfect. But that's that confidence I'm talking about, but also that lack of confidence and winning ability that Carlton may have those doubts.
In a Carlton midfield full of stars, it's the former Brownlow medalist Tom Mitchell who put it through. Warple gets the clearance, little toe poke to half forward. Boyd onto it, onto Boo for the Blues. Hand pass to Kennedy. Back to Cripps on half back. Feeds the hand pass to Newman. Sends the kick wide. O'Brien takes them up. 11 points the Blues lead. Lockie O'Brien looks at options. None really presenting. So kicks long down the wing towards Charlie Curnow. Worked underneath it by Sicily. Fisher at the back gathers. Sicily with hands up. Somehow got a hand in there. Then tries to rip the footy clear of Charlie Curnow. Newcomb gets involved. He lays a tackle and the umpire will throw it up.
Just thinking of Carlton at their best there, I reckon Lockie O'Brien would have pulled the trigger and had a go at that 45 kick, but under a bit of pressure at the moment, they can't go into their shells.
Hitnet tangles with Reeves. Reeves taps it down, no room to move. As on the bottom of the pack, O'Meara's locked up. Paddy Cripps laying the tackle. Just below our commentary position here at the MCG. Umpire throws it in the air. Reeves tries to physically tangle with Pitnet, but the bigger body wins it down. Straight to Moore, kicks up to the members' wing. Wingard started behind Nick Newman, worked his way to the front, kicks towards Mitch Lewis at half forward. No mark taken. Newcomb cleverly slaps it forward, but only as far as Wiedering. Back to a stationary Plowman, knocked it on to Williams, got around Bruce, Dan Gunston to Williams, who worked it well with Young, and now Nick Newman in the middle of the ground for Silvani.
Silvani turns and swings a long kick to Walsh, one-on-one with Morrison. Walsh back with the flight, marks it looking over his shoulder. Great mark, hand pass off the deck, away to Hewitt, kicks inside the forward 50, Mackay one out in the cage, tangles with Frost, Frost paid the mark. Mackay went to ground, was hoping for a kind whistle. Stevic wasn't buying what he was selling. The kick from Morrison out of the defensive 50. Plowman traps it on the wing. Hand pass to Kennedy. He gives it off to Hewitt. Short kick out wide for Walsh. Falls to ground. Walsh grabs it on his knees. He's now tackled. Ball still stays in. Silvani trickles one inside the forward 50. Out it comes for Granger Barras, and he kicks across the goal face. And Moore takes the mark a long way from home. Last line of defence for Hawthorn goes short to Nash. Marks on the back flank.
Connor Nash feeds the hand pass back to Moore. Looks to kick well towards Reeves. It was a good option in the end. Pulled his kick, found him on the AFL logo members side. Now away to McDonald. Takes the bounce. Looks inside 50. Gunston on the lead. Coming across from the side was Louis Young to spoil it out of play. Mitch Lewis came off above his knee and across the boundary line for a throw-in. Right forward pocket for the Hawks.
Cut the angles perfectly there, Lewis Young. He's probably laid out was there, hitting Jack Gunston inside forward 50, but just worked that angle perfectly to get in front of him at the right time.
Been an impressive debut for him in the Blues.
Been very good.
All of a sudden the crowd starting to get involved in this contest. Reeves wins down the tap only as far as Plowman at Carlton. Kicks towards the defensive 50. Morrison trying to pinch it. Found room. Kicks off the outside of the boot. Coming back. It's got there. Harry Morrison making the most of his opportunity. Not quite conventional, but certainly effective. And the Blues lead is cut to 5. 10-6-66 to the Hawks, 9-7-61. The Hawks, well, they've kicked the last 5 goals of the match and they're coming.
Well, what we've seen is that the Carlton side at the moment, they're just tightening up. They're not being as brave as what they were in the first couple of quarters with their ball movement, keeping the Hawthorn defenders in check, not making sure they're tight to their man at the moment. But what I implore the Carlton, especially their mids and their half forwards, is to get on your bike, start to be willing to lose the game by a couple of goals to get that next one and to break the game open. But to Hawthorn's credit, they're doing exactly that.
Just 5 points in it. After being down by 40 in the second term, Hawthorn, they trail by 5. Cripps to Walsh. The two guns in the middle combine. Walsh kicks to half forward. To Coney, tries to knock it behind, but Japp's waiting. Gives it to Morrison. The goal kicker's locked up immediately by Hewitt. And the umpire says, I'll have it. 35 out from the Carlton goal. Coming home to the punt road end. Nash and DeConing down to Cripps. Hand pass went straight to Ward. Now a little fumble from Sicily. Sicily knocks it away to Howe. Short kick. Morrison marks. Hand pass to Jack.
Looks out to the members wing. Gunston's free. Takes the mark on his chest. Drew in Wiedering and now he's off. Wiedering laid flat-footed. Gunston 2 bounces. Gets to 30. Steadies. And the Hawks are in front. The MCG erupts as Hawthorn have come from the clouds. The last 8 scores of the match. And now they find themselves in front by a point. 10-7-67 the Blues, 10-6-66. 10 minutes gone, final term.
Well, sometimes it's not your day, but when it is your moment, you've got to capitalise. And Jack Gunston's had a pretty quiet day. He's only had the 4 disposals, but took the grab there and took a couple of bounces and finished off nicely. That's why he's been a star for a long period of time. And as I said, it hasn't been his day today, but there was his moment to shine. He made the most of it.
Jeez, Jacob Wiedering did everything to try and get a fist on that, just missed. But he needed to almost take that body and take Jack Gunston out of it, because behind him was just a whole empty forward 50, which allowed Jack Gunston just to run his way in and make a certainty of it.
If it's only 60,000, it felt like every one of them was making a bit of noise as Gunston ran into goal. What an afternoon at the G. Blues get the centre break. Cripps to Chera. Kicks to half forward. Out to meet it. Granger Barras. He's dispossessed. Spills down to Day. He kicks off the back flank for Hawthorn. Chopped off by Hewitt. 70 out. Kicks Carlton back inside 50. And Sicily out on the lead. Takes the mark. Centre half back for Hawthorn. Just the second lead change in the game. The first since the opening quarter and the opening minutes as Sicily short to Hardwick and Hardwick out to half back. And Jager O'Meara takes the mark. The Hawks by 1, having trailed in the game by 40.
O'Meara's going to switch it back inside the defensive 50 to Sicily. Let's check in at Docklands with Andrew Mays, Richmond and St Kilda.
2 goals in the opening 90 seconds here, Clinchy, for the Tigers through Baker and Bolton. They lead at 2 straight, 12. St Kilda yet to score.
McGuinness was able to get around O'Brien at half-back, kicked end over end of the wing. Hewitt takes it for the Blues, kicks down low to Silvani, who takes the mark just short of left half forward. Has Mackay and De Koning deep. Cripps has pushed forward as well, puts it into the path of Harry. They fly from all directions. Frost in front, brought it down to Day. Hand pass to Hardwick for Hawthorn. Screws a kick towards Sicily. He was the only Hawk there. And he found him amongst three Blues at half-back.
Jeez, that was fortuitous, wasn't it? That thing was a Black Hawk down of all descriptions. That was terrible. Landed right in the middle of three.
Oh, Sicily short to Nash, didn't quite get it to him. Out to meet it is Durden along with Hewitt. They now trap it in underneath Nash. Pack forms around the three. Umpire still circles and says ball up. Half forward for Carlton, 60 out. The showers forecast. There is thick grey clouds above the MCG, but we haven't had any rain. And the 60-odd thousand that are in have been treated to a hell of a game of footy. Carlton kicking 7 goals to 1 in the first. They led by 40 in the second. And now the Hawks have kicked the last 6 to lead it by 1. From the stoppage, Cripps gave it to Chera, has a fumble. Spills to Warple. Warple was tackled without it. It's against Fisher. And James Warple gets the free for Hawthorn. We're 12 minutes into the final term.
Back to Morrison on the defensive 50. Short to Hardwick. A true centre-half back. Works it over the top and Day marks. Back edge of the centre square, middle of the MCG. Doesn't have a lot of leading options on half forward, so goes back to Sicily. Back inside the defensive 50. Morrison was running hard, ignores that, spots Warple free. Middle of the members' wing, he can play on. Has space on Chera, kicks for Bruce, drop the mark. 2 Blues there, Newman emerges with it. Good support from Young. Kicks up to Silvani. He marks it full stretch between wing and half forward. Mackay races back inside 50 to Koning as well. Silvani will square it up into the corridor to Chera.
He used it well. He goes short and wide to O'Brien. The scoring has dried up. Their last goal came in the opening minutes of the third quarter. Hawthorn have rattled off the last 6. We're now 13 minutes into the final term. Williams. Hand pass away to Walsh, straight on. Off the interchange, kicks inside 50, out to meet it, Granger Barras, the juggled mark at half-back for Hawthorn.
They just owned all the corridor there, the Hawthorn defence. All the Carlton forwards are all boundary side and put them in shocking positions for Walshy going inside 50.
He goes short back to Frost. Top of the defensive goal square for Hawthorn. Blues coming home to the punt road end, short in the back pocket, Hardwick marks. Hawthorn by 1, 14 played final term.
Jaff leading possession getter with 25 for Hawthorn. Sicily with 23, kicks up towards Lewis. Can't take the mark, worked out of it. Fisher worked out of it by McGuinness, but now gone. Just got the hand pass away, no. And Zach Williams laid the tackle. Carlton will take it back on the members' wing. Matt Kennedy with 27 for the Blues. Cripps with 25, Walsh with 25 and Doherty as well. Hawthorn leading by a point. Kicked 3 goals in this final term. Zach Williams called to play on. Short kick over the top to Cripps, who's uncontested. There's a big pack forming inside the 50 as blocks are trying to be put on for Pitnet. For Harry Mackay. Cripps wheels around on the right, sends it in the Harry path, sets himself in from the side to Koning, couldn't take the mark. Running onto a Day, got Hawthorn out of defence. Hand pass to Newcomb, up to Lewis, who marks on his chest, centre wing.
Lewis looks inside the centre square. Mitchell takes the mark. Hand pass to the run of Nash. The Irishman loads up, kicks it deep to Gunston. One out in the cage. Wiedering spoils close to the boundary line and eventually out. 40 out from the Hawthorn goal. Hawks with the last 6 in the game to lead by a point.
Geez, he's reliable, Jacob Wiedering, isn't he? In any position, he just manages to get himself into the right spot, right time. So strong. Big fist too. Doesn't have a soft drop. Luke Bruce was right at their feet. Gets it out of bounds at top of 50.
A little wayward on the throw-in. Nash doing some of the ruck work down in front of Wingard. Wingard hand pass to Howe, to Mitchell, but Hawthorn retreating. Howe off his knees to Newcomb. Spins out of the Chera would-be tackle. Hand pass to Hardwick. His kick smothered. Ricochets close to the boundary line. Kept alive by Hardwick. Still with the Hawks on the southern wing. Hands it to Newcomb. He falls over. Did he have his jump the target? Umpire says play on. And now Kennedy for the Blues.
Got it to Cripps. Pulls his kick around the wing and sends it into the crowd. Under the Shane Warne stand, out of bounds on the full. Denver Granger Barras to take it. Hawthorn leading by a point. England 2-4-38 in the Women's World Cup final, needing 357 for victory. With Wyatt out, Bold shoot for 4. Tammy Beaumont, LBW, to shoot for 27. Comes to Howe. Veers out to the right, sends it long inside the 50. Young flew, couldn't hang on to the mark. Pitnet at the back, gathers, kicks towards half-back. Awkward bouncing ball for Cripps, running onto it. Granger Barras almost ran into a dead end. Hand pass to Warple, missed him. Did he make contact below the knees? He did. And Cherry will take the free kick on the defensive 50-yard.
They had to come from behind in the game against Richmond. They were challenged by the Bulldogs and held on in the final term, Carlton. And this is a different task again after being 40 up. They've conceded the last 6 to trail by a point. Carlton off the back flank, Williams to Walsh. The young stud marks at left half back for Carlton. 17 gone in the last. Hawks by 1. Walsh very short to Silvani. The ump says it's okay.
Let's check into Docklands, Richmond and St Kilda with Andrew Mays.
St Kilda have answered Richmond's 2 goals. 2-1-13, the Saints lead. Richmond 2 straight after 10 minutes opening term.
Walsh kicks down the wing and off hands a pack forms underneath Pitnet and McGuinness. I think Carlton ruck just a little slow to get up. It's a hand on the back of his jumper from Kennedy. It's a long way up for the big man. Hawthorn by 1.
Pitnet wins down the tap. A chance for Mitchell combined with Warple. Gets it to Ward. Kicks towards half forward. Mitch Lewis, awkward bounce. Couldn't get a tap onto it. Young gathers at half back for the Blues. Hand pass to Plowman. Looking for options. Feeds it back to Lewis. Good composure. Chips it back to Zach Williams. Not 15. Call to play on. Just got the kick away as Bruce was lunging after him. Found Kennedy on the defensive 50. Turns corridor side. Opens it up for Doherty. 2 bounces through the middle of the MCG. Kicks off the outside of the boot. That might work. Setterfield trying to run onto it at half forward. He's got a few metres on Howe. Kicks inside the 50. Owies the target. Punched down by O'Meara. Comes the way of Durden. Can't get round CJ. Second go at it. Puts it through. Corey Durden with his second. The crafty small forward. They're just going to check whether this was touched on the way through. Eddie Betts would have loved that piece of magic deep in the right forward pocket. The goal will put Carlton back in front. The behind will have scores level.
Definitely. Touched.
I think Denver Granger Barras got a hand to it, trying to smother the Durden kick off the outside of the right boot. It was only about 6 or 7 metres out. So the arc working successfully there. A quick result once it was clear the hand had touched it. And the behind is on the scoreboard. 19 minutes gone, final term. Scores level, 67 apiece.
We had some wild momentum swings in round 1. Footy was a little more one way in round 2, and what a week it's been in round 3. The kick after the siren back on Friday night. Wild momentum swings last night at the G, and it's followed again today. Scores level after Carlton led it by 40. They work it up to the wing, Hawthorn, but it's coming back. Cherrett a half forward, De Koning out to meet it. Tackled by Granger Barras, dispossessed. Spills to Cripps, gives it to Walsh. Kicks inside 50 for Carlton. At the back, hands to it, Owies. No mark. Fisher releases Silvani into the open goal. Silvani, the blue blood, returns Carlton to the front. A career best third goal for Jack Silvani. Carlton by 6 points as we tick into time on in the final term. The Blues 11-7, Hawthorn 10-7. Mark Murphy, Brett Delidio on Grandstand AFL.
Well, just as that was unfolding, I watched Denver Granger Barras hobble from the ground. I'm not sure whether he would have had a play on that. It was a great handball out of congestion to put Jack Silvani into space. That came from Fisher. He's a clever player, Murph. I really like his work in and around the contest. What I loved the most was how good is it having the crowd back here at the footy. To watch all the Blue Bagger supporters here up and saluting and throwing out the fists, wet flags and
plenty of
waving.
high fives out there. Don't worry about that. Once the Carlton fans are up and about, there's no better sight in football, I reckon.
The Hawks have kicked the last 6 goals of the match. Carlton's last goal. Had to go back to the 2-minute mark of the third term. Here's Walsh, the emerging superstar, out of the middle. Kick, mark dropped by Frost. Couldn't take the mark. Charlie Curnow gathers. CJ's onto him. Jaff throws him into the turf, and the umpire will throw it up 35 metres out from the Blues goal. Carlton with a big clearance. 21 minutes gone, final term. Blues leading by a goal. Tossed up in the air. Taccone doing the ruck work. Reeves neither could get a hand onto it. Dragged down Day. Walsh with a hand pass to Hewitt to the top of the goal square. They need a flyer. Durden's the smallest player there. He nudged Sicily underneath, who rushes it through for a minor score. An important point. Carlton by 7 points. 22 minutes gone, final term.
Bang on, Clinchy, a 2-score game. 22 played, final term. Hardwick goes long, straight down the pipe, straight to Doherty. Intercept mark for Carlton, but he's alongside the centre circles. Short to Cripps. The captain marks. Centre half forward. Hand pass into oncoming traffic. Spills to O'Meara. Wanted it more. Hand pass out to half back. Finds Howe. Hawks back with it. He kicks wide to Moore. Jess Webster on the boundary.
It's a left ankle for Granger Barras. They're just strapping it up now in the hopes of getting him back out there.
Dylan Moore goes long to half forward. Beyond the wing. Doherty's back there again. Takes another intercept mark for Carlton. It's the Blues by 7 points after falling behind in this final term. We've now travelled 23 minutes in the fourth.
Short to Walsh, who has it in the defensive 50. Possession number 30 coming up as he goes short to Owie, still on the defensive 50. Into the middle of the ground where the mark is taken by Hewitt. George Hewitt happy to move it laterally to the Shane Warne stand wing, where the mark is taken by Nick Newman. So 23 minutes gone. There's still 4 minutes and change to go. The Blues are trying to provide a measured approach forward. Kicks to Zach Williams on the wing. He dropped the mark. Regathers. Kicks towards half forward. Cripps over around the footy. O'Meara picks it up. Hand pass to Frost. He hacks the kick back up to the wing. Doherty's there. Wiedering spoils it down. Nick Newman front and centre. Back to Doherty. Hand pass to Williams. Trying to find a way around Tom Mitchell. Kicks towards half forward. Hawthorn have the numbers. Reeves gathers. Tackled. Couldn't get it to Sicily. Kennedy's in there. Loses the footy. Moore has a go. He can't get a disposal. It's knocked out by Walsh and Doherty for the Blues.
Doherty from the wing. Kicks it straight to Sicily. Defensive side of the logo. Pumps Hawthorn back to half forward. Wiedering's up. Packmark can't complete it. Spills to Bruce. He knocks it away. Got pushed in the back. Free kick, Luke Bruce. Between wing and half forward. Kicks inside 50. Gunston hugs it to his chest at left half forward. And he'll shoot from a tight angle here. 10 metres in from the boundary line. He wastes no time. The bender across the body is good. It's a 1-point game again at the G. 24 travelled in the final term. Gunston with his second. Both of them in this final quarter. Carlton 11-8, 74. Hawthorn 11-7, 73. Carlton by 1, Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy.
Well, that makes it interesting, doesn't it? There was absolutely nothing surer than Luke Bruce going to Jack Gunston. Great mates, have been for a long time. Always seem to find each other. Jack, while Wiedering was stuck up the ground after that big spoil, he snuck off into the forward line. Makes it very interesting, this one. Big centre clearance coming up. Corby. Be interesting to see who's going to be the man in there getting it done. Connor Nash is going in to be the man in the middle for the bounce, so not your first choice ruckman, which is disappointing.
How good is this? Sunday Arvo at the G, Murph. 60+ thousand, 1-point game.
Sorry, Murph.
Thought we were in for a bit of a blowout in the first quarter, but to Hawthorn's credit, they've been fantastic since quarter time. And big crowd here at the G. Starting to get a little bit chilly. There's a little bit of rain starting to drop. I'm not too sure, but it's all set for a humdinger here at the end.
The Blues kicked 7 goals to 1 in the opening term. Hawthorn have worked their way back in. Taccone wins the tap against Nash. Nash over the footy though, can't quite get it. A chance for Hewitt for Carlton. They get the clearance. Hand pass to Walsh. Kicks out towards Silvani on half forward. Racing onto it, centre field. Howe lunging after him. Couldn't get the tackle. Oh, he's down low. Couldn't take the mark. Picked up by Newcomb for Hawthorn. Hand pass to Jaff. Kicks into the middle of the crowd. McDonald has it.
McDonald kicks out wide for Dylan Moore. Marks on the wing. Looks inside the forward 50. Kick goes in Gunston's direction. No mark. Spills it late. Comes down to Wiedering. Blues off half back. Doherty fumbles. Gunston back onto it. Kicks to Wingard. Goes up. No mark. Here's Williams for Carlton. Hand pass over his shoulder to Newman. He can give it to Walsh.
Hand pass to Walsh, who's kicked it off the instep, snapped it across his body and found Doherty at left half back. Wasn't quite sure where he was going, but he knew better than me and found a loose player. Short to Boyd, the debutant. Can Carlton hold their nerve? Still 2 and a bit minutes to go. Short to Cripps and back to Doherty.
That's why he's a star, Sammy Walsh. There's not too many blokes who kick a banana from centre half back to a bloke free on the wing. Just a bit of extra composure, half second with the football, and just made a correct decision.
Jess Webster on the boundary.
Looks like Carlton is making their medical sub. Jack Martin's coming into the game. I think Pettinet is the one who's injured.
Doherty long, Harry Mackay, massive contested mark. Takes the mark centre wing on the members' side. He came from 4 deep. Marked over Sicily.
Less than 2 minutes on the game clock. What a start to the game for Martin. Carlton lead by a point. Harry Mackay down to half forward. Granger Barras can't take the juggled mark. Frost hand pass to Morrison. Through the traffic to Hardwick, to Granger Barras, to Jack. Steps around Chera. Hand pass to Morrison. Fumbles. Now he's in strife. Cripps tackles him out of play. Boundary throw in, 70 out from Carlton's goal. The crowd posted at 66,317 on a Sunday afternoon at the G to watch 2 undefeated teams go at it, Carlton and Hawthorn, and the Baggers lead it by a solitary point with 90 seconds to go.
Should have never doubted you, Corby. Nash taps it towards the boundary. It rolls end over end in front of him, trying to race after it. So second biggest crowd since Thursday night, Carlton and Richmond, which drew 72,000. A big Sunday afternoon with the Blues leading by a point. 27 minutes gone, final term. Toss back into play. De Koning in the ruck against Nash. De Koning tries to take it out. Ann emerges with it. Hand pass to Chera. Kicks inside the 50. Long ball. The small fleet's there. Martin over the ground. Almost took the mark. Durden to go along the behind line. Little toe poke across the face. Out of place. Not a bad result for Carlton. Setterfield. Tackled. Taken over the boundary by Howe. And the umpire says throw it in the right forward pocket. Almost a chance for the Blues to steal it there. They couldn't take it.
Jack Martin could have covered himself in glory there, Clinchy. Just couldn't stick it in the pocket.
Carlton by 1. Boundary throw in, right forward pocket. Mackay and Nash. Nash hooks it down behind. Howe taps it away to Warple. Warple a surge kick into the middle of the G. Bouncing footy kind for Boyd to the Blues. Hand pass to Doherty. He lost it in the Moore tackle. Moore gives it to O'Meara. Kicks to centre half forward. Wiedering's back with the flight. Right. Clatters into Sicily and marks at centre half back for Carlton. Jacob Wiedering, who's held it down in defence again all day for Carlton. The Blues by a point. 29 travelled final term.
Sends it to Lockie O'Brien, who takes the mark at left half back. Time starting to run out for the Hawks. They need to make sure it's one-on-one across the field. O'Brien waits for the loose option to present. It's Doherty. He marks between wing and half back. He can chip it back because Nick Newman's uncontested. He marks 10 metres in from the boundary at left half back. Under the Ponsford stand. 29 minutes gone. Carlton leading by a point. Nick Newman sends it long down the wing towards Harry Mackay. The siren sounds. And for the Blue Believers, they're 3-0 to start the 2022 season. There's been a few false dawns, but it feels real now.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions they like to send up. We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues.
Carlton 11,874 to the Hawks 11,773. The Blues by 1 point in front of 66,317 fans. The Carlton side kicked 7 goals to 1 in the opening term. They led by 34 points, got out by 41 points midway through the second term before a 30-point lead at halftime by 17 points at three-quarter time. The Hawks hit the front at the 9-minute mark of the final term before a goal apiece to finish the match. The Blues hang on, winners by a point.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old they like to send up will keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
They showed their full scoring power in the opening quarter. They had to hold their nerve in the last to see off the best the Hawks could offer. And Carlton start the season 3-0 for the first time since 2012. The Blues, what a wet match. Winners by a point. For the winners, 3 goals to Charlie Curnow, 3 goals to Jack Silvani, 2 to Harry Mackay, individuals to Cripps, Durden and to Owies. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, 2 to Jack Gunston, 2 to Luke Bruce, 2 to Dylan Moore, individuals to Morrison, Lewis, Mitchell, Wingard and McDonald. The Blues winners by a point at the MCG on Sunday afternoon footy. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy.
Well, we had a ripper, didn't we? Leeds,
mate.
I thought at quarter time, I thought we were staring down the barrel of a pretty tough watch here for the Hawthorn fans. But to their credit, they were fantastic after quarter time, and that could have gone in either way. To win by a point, Carlton just to hold on. But the Hawthorn footy side will be pretty impressed with the way in which they went about that. They obviously talk about that first quarter being the quarter that let them down, obviously. But the great game of football here in front of 66,000 here at the G. Carlton go 3-0 for the first time since 2012.
2012? Yeah, right. Well, they're starting to build something very impressive, and what I like the most out of that last quarter was they were challenged. You know, the Hawks really came at them, but they found a way to, and that shows the sign of maturing, and they're getting belief in their game plan that they're putting together. It's not just about, well, our best players, our best mids are really shining and taking us on this journey. It's a whole team. And I look through the stats, you've got Doherty at the top there with 33, Zach Williams at 27 off halfback, Nick Newman 21. But the guy like I love down back who sets it all up for him, like Wiedering just holds them all together, doesn't he? He's just a star down there. But then you've got your absolute bulls and guns inside in, you know, Cripps, Chera's added to that mix. Hewitt, I think, was huge for him right across the day. Goes both ways, doesn't just give it pure offense, tackles, chases, does all the hard stuff. In saying that, so does Paddy Cripps as well, mate, because he had 6 clearances and 11 tackles as well. So they all chipped in, they all bought in. And that's what impresses me. They're playing the modern game at the moment, not just, you know, kick mark style. They're willing to kick the contest, move the ball on quickly, and then they swarm and they put tackle pressure on. So it's a damn good win for the Blues, and you know the supporters that turned up here today will absolutely love that, and they're still sticking around to try and catch a footy off one of the boys.
Great summary. There's one you missed there from my end was Matty Kennedy.
Bam Bam.
Big Bam Bam. I'm just rapt to see him go so well. I think he's had 30 disposals at least in every one of the first 3 games, but today...
Under the radar a little bit, but just goes about his business.
I think he had 5 intercept marks, so it shows you he's willing to go back and support his defence, and he's a smart ball user as well with the ball in hand, and 6 score involvements, 4 clearances, another 30 disposals. I haven't got him best on ground, but you're doing that, I think, anyway. But he's one that's really taken that next step, and he's been backed in obviously by Vossi, and he's really starting to repay the faith. And yeah, him in with Cripps, obviously you talked about, and Hewitt and Chera, Walsh. It's pretty exciting. And then you've got the likes of Doherty down back with Williams running off that half-back line, and the 2 key forwards, and your man Wiedering that you love, and that I'd certainly do love, went back with a flight in that last passage of play and basically sealed the game for the Blues.
So they join Brisbane and Melbourne as one of 3 undefeated sides so far after 3 rounds of the AFL footy. Murph, you have spent a lot of time around the Blues. Given what you've seen so far in the opening 3 rounds, I mean, the stats would argue that if you win your opening 3 games, you're a 90% chance of playing finals. Can you believe in what you're seeing in the opening 3 games?
Well, I certainly believe that what we're seeing at the moment's it's a top 8 side, if you ask me, and you ask a lot of people around you. You beat Richmond round 1 in front of a huge crowd, and the Bulldogs obviously playing the grand final last year to beat them by 12 points, but they were up by 6 goals a period last I think it was at half-time last week. And then today to go against Hawthorn, who played really well last week, and to basically blow them out of the water and almost get the job done single-handedly in that first quarter. Shows the signs are certainly there. They just need to keep on doing it week to week, and it's obviously a long season. And just keeping injury-free to a few of the key players is really crucial, like it is with every team. But just having Harry and Charlie being able to work in together, you see today they both kicked a few each, but they still get in the way of each other from time to time, and that'll come from playing a lot of football with each other. And Jack Silvani obviously bobbing up. He's just a smart footballer, Jack. He's not quick, but he just does the really smart things. He knows where to be. He knows where the ball's going to go.
Crucial last quarter goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, does defensive work really well. That little banana inside out was it always brings a smile to my face seeing blokes pull them out. Look, they've got a lot of match winners across the board. They just need to put it all together, and Vossi's obviously bringing a really good team ethic or work ethic amongst them, because as much as I love Harry Mackay, I've never seen him do two big chase down tackles from about 50 or 60 metre rundowns. And when you're doing that as a key forward and the Coleman medalist from last year, to be able to do that, it just shows that he's thinking defensive acts as well, which is what you want to see.
It felt like in round one they had to come from behind at three-quarter time, and they had that blistering final quarter to run down Richmond. In round two, they opened up an early lead and they played from in front against the Western Bulldogs and held them off. And today they did both. They blew them out early and led by 40 points, and then ultimately fell behind and had to come back and win it again. So it felt like it had traits of what we saw from Carlton in weeks 1 and 2 in what they dished up today.
Certainly did, and I think that's the pleasing thing. They're not just doing it one way, and yeah, they're almost the shift of momentum from what it was the previous couple of years of getting huge scores against them in a row. They're almost doing that the opposite and blowing teams out of the water in a short period of time and kicking continuous goals at will, and their key forwards are doing that, which is really good to see.
I want to ask you about the Hawks in a moment, Lids, because I don't think they would have lost any lovers today. But is the difference in Carlton the maturity of the group? We know they've had that offensive assault in the past where they can score big numbers, but the ability to defend when an opposition side gets a run on it, is that the part where you feel like Carlton have progressed over the last season?
Yeah, they have, and every team's going to come at you at some point, no matter how good they are. So today they probably went back into their shells a little bit in terms of with their ball use, and I made comment of it early in the fourth about just going long and not taking that short option, which when you're getting challenged, sometimes the easier thing to do with ball in hand is to go, we'll go slow and we'll go long, and rather let's be courageous. Let's play the way in which we've been playing to get us into this position. And I think they started to do that at the end of the game, taking those shorts rather than just getting it and banging it long. So that's a sort of improvement that I wanted to see, and which is something that's sort of been lacking over the last few years. That it's easier going safer, but that almost is detrimental to the way in which you finish off the game.
What impresses me is just their spread right across from there. You know, it's not just relying on Walsh and Cripps to dominate the game for them. They'll play well with good players around them, but you look at and it's not always just about touches, but they've just got such an even spread right across. And guys pulling their weight, and that's what you want in a good competitive team that's aiming to play finals and be near the top end. You need to have a good spread, and you spoke about Bam Kennedy, his ability to show up. George Hewitt, what he's adding, Adam Chera, now he's come back into the side. But then I look further down at Setterfield playing his role out in the wing, O'Brien playing his role on the other wing, and then you got your half forwards that just continue to work and provide options for him. So things are looking good for the Blues, but it is only round 3. Let's not get too far out of ourselves.
His Suns, Port Adelaide and the Dockers in the next 3 weeks. The Hawks have got the Saints next week. Let's go and join Jess Webster, the Blues winners by a point.
Pretty casual as the players have come into the rooms to sing the song. They're just gathering in a circle now. No doubt they're going to belt this one out. 66,000 at the MCG to see their Blues get up by a point. Let's have a listen to the song.
So a couple of the players playing in their first win, Lockie Young in the middle and also Jordan Boyd, who get drenched by the sports drink as Carlton sing out their song for the third time so far this season. Winners by a point over Hawthorn, 11-8-74 to the Hawks, 11-7-73. Let's just quickly check in at Docklands, Richmond and St Kilda. Andrew Mays.
Clinchy, it's an absolute shootout here under the roof. 6-2-38 the Saints, 6-4-40 the Tigers. A bit of injury news for St Kilda. Jack Higgins has been subbed already with a concussion injury, and that means Ben Long is into the game early in this first term. But it's Richmond by 2 points. Parker with 2 goals against his old side. Butler with 2 goals for the Saints against his old side. We're in for a good afternoon here under the roof.
Thanks, Maisie. England 2 for 80 in the Women's World Cup final against Australia, needing 357 runs for victory after Elisa Healy's 170.
Sixth highest score ever for a Carlton, sixth highest crowd ever for a Carlton Hawthorn game. So these two teams have been playing each other since 1925. They've played in multiple grand finals against each other in the late 80s, and this is the second highest crowd ever recorded for a regular season game between the teams. So 66,317. The previous best in a regular season fixture was 2009 when they had 69,800. So that's a hell of a roll-up round 3.
Carlton winners by a point. Let's hear what the Carlton captain thought of it. He's down with Jess Webster.
Paddy, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the result first and foremost. A crazy end there to that game, but you're 3-0 to start the season. What's the mood like at the club at the moment?
Yeah, it's unreal. Since I've been there, we've never been 0-2. We've never been 2-0, let alone 3-0. So, it was actually a really tough contest there. We got off to a great start early, but credit to them. They fought back, and to I suppose stand up late and get the win probably shows the growth of the group.
And you mentioned it, you touched on it just then. You started really well, but you let Hawthorn come back into the contest. What kind of let you down there?
I don't know. I think probably our composure going forward. We're still getting our looks, but I think they started dropping one behind the ball and sitting a spare in front of Charlie and Harry. They were on fire early, so then they tried to get their transition game going. So for a bit they were probably our own worst enemies. We still felt like we were getting our hands on the ball around the clearances and taking ground, but probably the rebound out of our forward 50 was too easy. But like I said, I feel like we got on the top of the clearances late and just hung on in the end.
Yep, definitely. And you've had some pretty great moments in the first 3 rounds, but what's been the standout to you? And I guess what's been the standout in the terms of the way that you've been playing to get yourself into this position early?
Yeah, I think just the way the contested brand we're playing and connected sort of defence. I thought the way that we've been challenging nearly every game and we've held strong and then found a way to win. And that, like I said before, that's probably the growth of the group. We feel like we've got so much growth left in us. I think the best thing is today we had guys go out, had guys miss with COVID, we had coaches miss with COVID, and we talk about next man up. And I thought Youngie and Boydie came in today and played an awesome role to fill in for Sardi and to fill the back. So we'll keep growing. We'll back the 4 points and keep moving forward.
I think you've got a very happy Blues supporter in the box upstairs. Let's head up there now to our Grandstand AFL experts, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Cripper, Murphy, mate. Congratulations today. You told me you were going to put on a display this morning on a text message, so well done on that. Talk me through Matty Kennedy, who he's been there for a few years, just hasn't had a great opportunity playing midfield quite often, but the work he's done over the past 24 months, from what I've seen, he's gone to another level this year. What's he been like, Bam Bam?
Yeah, first, Murph, I'd just like to say well done, the lap of honour, and a great career, mate. It was a good way to send you off. It was obviously tough last year with COVID, but everything you've done for this club and this group, we really appreciate it, and it was a good way to send you off today, mate. So just thought I'd say it first. About Big Chugger, Big Bam Bam, or he's got a few nicknames going around. You know what he's like. He's one of the best blokes at the club. He gives us energy, and he's tough. But it's just good to see him play with confidence and sort of play with a bit of creativity. He's strung a lot of good games together now, and I suppose he adds a point of difference with his aerial stuff, and a lot with the other mids. I feel like we complement each other well in there at the moment.
Cripper, Brett Delidio, mate, well done today. I want to get your thoughts on what it's like actually having 2 big key forwards. You probably throw in Tom De Conning as well down there to have 3 big key forwards to kick 2 coming out of your midfield, mate. You must be wrapped with the way Charlie's come back and now complimenting Harry down there as well.
Yeah, that's every mid's dream, mate. The way Charlie was launching at the ball, it's just good to see him back. And obviously he came back last year, but he's definitely jumping at the ball with confidence. And he was on early, and you can tell they made a few changes to try and sit one in front of the big boys down there. But the way they compete and bring the ball to ground gives our smalls a chance, but also straightens us up when we go forward. So, they've only played a handful of games together, so there's a fair bit of growth with that as well.
Paddy, it's Matt Clinch here. I know you need to go, so just tell us how exciting it is. You've obviously had opportunities in previous seasons, but that consistency in which we're seeing in games where you're having swings against you and swings for you, is that one of the most pleasing parts?
Yeah, that's what I said before. It's that's the pleasing, just standing up. With the 6-6-6 now, there's always going to be a momentum shifts, and the comp's so even. You respect every opposition you go up against, and look, it was nice to start well and get a lead, but we knew they were going to come back, and for them to hit the front and then bounce back late and get across the line shows the growth of the group.
Well done, Paddy. Congratulations on the win. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Good on you, Binger.
Paddy Cripps there, the Carlton
Give us
captain
the rundown.
in the Blues 1-point win over the Hawks. You can always tell when the change rooms go silent that we're probably starting to creep into dangerous territory when we're asking one more.
I think he'd be okay if he rolled in late.
So?
I think Vossi would be like, that's all right, mate. You
Calls the shots, doesn't even be Criver.
What's Binger about? Can you tell us that?
Well, yeah, I'm not too sure. So it's after Brett Lee. We're big fans of Binger Lee, and I think Cribber gave a celebration of the chainsaw a few years ago. So Binger sort of stuck with him, and he called me Binger, just trying to turn it back on me for some reason. So that's, as you know, nicknames sort of evolve, and sometimes you get them for no good reason, and Binger's one of mine.
Max Lawton on Twitter. Carlton joining Melbourne and Brisbane at 3-0. Since the top 8 began, 62 of 75 teams to start 3-0 have gone on to make finals. So they're hoping they're in the 82%. There's only been 13 teams ever after such a start haven't gone on to make the top 8. So it's a hell of a platform.
Well, let's hope that 83% was it go on to play in the finals that year. So let's hope for all Carlton fans that they can do that this year, because it's been quite a drought since 2013, and even then we didn't finish in the top 8 but played finals. So let's hopefully this year this is their year.
Well, even just the basic math from it. If you've got 22 games and the race is to get to 12, all of a sudden you're 3 down, you've got 19 to go, and you only need to win 9. It puts you in a much better position.
Oh, that's exactly it. And that's what the key is early in the season. Try and bank those wins, because when you're trying to chase your tail later in the year, you've got banged up boys. It comes a slog through those middle parts of winter in the season. It's very hard to chase down those wins when you can get them early when everyone's fresh. Albeit not everyone as fresh as each other, but they're so important, and they've got off to the perfect start. It's all you can do is win against the opponents you come up against. I certainly didn't have Hawthorn going as well as what they did today or this year so far. So credit to their coaching staff and the boys for buying into what Sammy Mitchell and the coaching staff are presenting to them.
That's a hell of it. You ran through their start clinchy moments ago. You look at, I know footy clubs hate to forecast things too far out, but Gold Coast this week, it's their first road trip. Then they play Port Adelaide here at the MCG.
Rocky, the power at the moment.
They're 0-3 at the moment. They go to Perth to play the Dockers. And even when Carlton's been a poor team and Freo been a good team, the Blues seem to have a happy knack of going there and upsetting the Dockers. And then North Melbourne and Adelaide. That's by the time we get to round 8. So there's a few winnable games in that run for Carlton on current form.
And I think with the COVID era as well, they've obviously lost Vossi, their senior coach, and they've had quite a few cases go through the football club. I know the football department was pretty decimated there for a good week and a half, and to have a few players go down, but just to hold up and get through that period, you can't underestimate that as well. So hopefully from their point of view, the COVID little cycle has been and gone from the Blues, but you can't underestimate doing that, especially with your senior coach who's only coached for one game and then goes down and misses. It's to then put that to the side, play the Western Bulldogs and beat them. It's been a pretty impressive start.
I know a few of the Carlton old boys like Mark McClure I travel in with each week. A few of them are finding their way back to Carlton games. So there's
Sellers,
he's back. Yeah.
Oh, right. I did see Sellers today at the President's Luncheon.
Did you? Yeah.
So no, he's always been there the whole way through, but obviously been pretty forthright in his opinions of the Blues over the years.
Has he ever?
which we do love from time to time. Not if you're on the end of it though.
To be fair, he's fronted up a few times where all the questions have been asked and had to try and explain where Carlton are heading, which has had its challenges across the journey. But the sleeping giants of the AFL might all of a sudden be back in finals contention. Liz, if you're a Hawthorn fan and leaving the MCG, you wouldn't be too deterred.
I don't think so.
In what you saw tonight or this afternoon. Obviously, a slow start. But they're able to work their way back into the game. And given Carlton's dominance in centre clearances, to be able to set themselves across the half-back line with the weapons in which the Blues display, I was really impressed with their last term.
Well, I think we spoke about it at the start of the game, talking about Collingwood last night, and their ability to perform for 3 quarters but then let themselves down with that last quarter, and they let the game slip. Hawthorn, and that's no doubt what they'll be going through tomorrow with their review, will be, what happened in that first quarter, boys? Is there anything we can change with our warm-up, the way we prepare for a game, all those sorts of things, because 7 goals to 1 is not a great start, is it? Given any sort of team a lead like that, and it took for a few little moves and tactical things to Charlie Curnow was off the hook, so was the midfield was running rampant. Harry Mackay was getting away from him as well, so just changed up a few structural things, put an extra, well, not an extra, but a player that zone off a little bit more, work out who's not as dangerous, put players in front of that, but then get to work in the midfield, put pressure on the footy, win the footy, and then you can start the game on level peggings from there. But chasing 7 goals down or 6 goals down makes it very hard.
It does, and round one they did a similar thing against North, but not to the extreme. But as you said before, like when you come in on a Monday, Tuesday, the coaches will inevitably ask, do we need to do something different in the warm-up? Do we need to do something that we're not doing right? So all those questions start to be brought up, but which is the worst thing you want as a footballer, because most of these guys will know their routines that they'll need. So nothing really needs to change too much. There might be a slight little adjustment from a few blokes, but yeah, that's the one annoying thing as a player when that starts to occur and it becomes a trend. But yeah, you've got to hand it to them after quarter time to really wrestle the game back. It all started with the contested ball and the pressure around the ball, and then just backing in their leg and their ball use just to get it through the Carlton team defence was really impressive, and they were very good, and they can take a lot of solace out of that last 3 quarters.
I think so, absolutely, to back you up, but then answer your question, Clinchy. Going away, you'd be super pumped with Giath, who come off limited prep, and his couple of games that he's been able to play. Sicily as well, after missing the best part of 2 years with his knee, lose Scrimshaw early. Day's return, and then you got Denver Granger Barras doing some great things down there as a young developing key back. There's so many things that to be pleased about. What I love is the work rate of Dylan Moore, Jai Newcomb across half forward. They just work their backsides off across the ground, providing options up and back. Gunston and Lewis didn't have their best days today, but the other 2 boys, or other 3 or 4 boys down there, got to work, and they turned it around from 6 goals down at quarter time to they led in the last quarter, so credit to the coaching staff, to the players, to not losing faith. It could have easily gone the other way and been a 10-goal loss, couldn't it? But it's things are looking up. A very even competition at the moment, which is great.
And I think Carlton's going to do that to a few teams, aren't they? They kicked 7 goals in 21 minutes. And they just the way the centre bounce operates, and the fact that you can just keep going forward, that you just get caught in this vortex that all of a sudden Carlton are scoring easily. But after that point, it was amazing. 34 down at quarter time, hit the front in the last quarter, and then Carlton had to come back to win it again late.
They're one of the defensive sixes that have all the weapons to match it with a team like Carlton. When you think of Frost and Sicily, Granger Barras, so they do have the tall defenders. They'll love to have Jarman Impey back in to sort of have one of those elite ball users off half back, but that was sort of the most surprising part of the way in which Carlton sort of started, is you thought, wow, if they're going to smash teams like Hawthorn out of the middle and get in that quick, regardless of who your defensive six is, it's going to be a hard afternoon.
Oh, that's it. You could have Scarlett Silvani, whoever down there in the back line. They're not stopping it when it's coming out as quickly as that. I'd like to mention Sam Frost. How good was he down there? For a guy who's not as big as those big boys, Harry Mackay's a huge unit. Charlie Curnow, we know how well he moves, but Hartigan's probably that one that comes in and he's that bear tamer that can take on those big key forwards. But they fought manfully, didn't they, down there, the Hawks defenders? And I think that's partly to do with how they're trained and how they're coached to set up and help each other out. I think they do that as well as anyone down there.
Let's check in at Dockland's second quarter action, the Matty match between St Kilda and Richmond. Andrew Mays.
Shootout has continued here, Clinchy. 6 lead changes so far in this one, and we're only 6 minutes into the second term. Noah Bolter just puts through his second of the afternoon. Richmond hit the lead again, 7-4-46, leading St Kilda 7-3-45, early stages second term.
Thanks, Mays. In the Cricket World Cup taking place, England are 3 for 94 with Danny White out for 4, Tammy Beaumont for 27, and Heather Knight, the latest to fall, LBW, to Alana King for 26. So Nat Sever on 26, Amy Jones on 6. England 3 for 94 in the 17th over, chasing 357 for victory. The other thing, let's head to the Hawthorn rooms. Great to get a reaction from down there. Jess Webster's headed to the Hawks rooms. Jess.
Thanks, Clinchy. I'm here with James Warple. Thank you for joining us. I know this is tough after a loss. Is it pride that you were able to fight back, or is it disappointment that you couldn't get over the line? What's the overriding feeling?
It's a bit of both, I guess. The first quarter ended up really hurting us, so the boys fought out well for 3 quarters, and that's for you sometimes. If you don't rock up at the start, you can get done. So a bit disappointing, but happy with the boys fought it out.
And great start to the season, though, so there must be plenty of positives as we'll finish up round 3. What's been the standout for you?
Yeah, it is. I think just the emergence of some young boys. We're fielding some of the youngest teams we've ever had for a while. So, they're coming in along leaps and bounds, and just some growth areas from the coaches as well. Got a really good new coaching group and a new game style. So the boys are still learning, the coaches are still learning, and we got heaps of upside. So very exciting.
What was the message from Sam Mitchell in the post-game meeting?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. He actually started off and said, "Well, that's footy sometimes," and it's a funny game. But yeah, he was really happy we wrestled it back into our favour, and just a bit disappointed that we didn't play our brand of footy in the first quarter and ended up hurting us.
James Warple joining us on Grandstand AFL. Let's head upstairs to the box to our Grandstand AFL experts, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Warps, it's Lids here, mate. Commiserations today. Disappointing. It was very close, mate, but very well done in terms of getting back into the game. Give me a few bars on CJ and Will Day. Great to have them both after limited preparations, having them both there across half-back, mate. I thought they were terrific today.
Yeah, good day, Lids. Good to hear, mate. Missed you a little bit down here, but
thanks,
yeah, CJ and Daisy. Daisy's great to have back, obviously his first game, and he's just going to warm into things. I think he cramped in the third quarter or something, but good on him from the young fella, and CJ's just having a really good season. We've seen how much growth he's had over the last couple of years, and to be honest, I thought his game last week was just as good as this week, so you've got to have those 11 possession games to somehow get up next week and play 25 and play a really good game. So yeah, they're doing well, those boys.
James Murphy, mate, well done on today and well done on the start of the year for you guys, especially last week. Was awesome to see you guys go over to Port Adelaide and get the win there. What was the message at quarter time from Sam? Obviously the Blues started the game really well. Was it about the contest work and pressure, or was it something else?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. Sam was a bit cranky after the first quarter, as you can imagine, but we just weren't really playing our brand of footy, and they just took the game from us and scored a little bit too easily, so we knew it was going to be hard from there, but we're happy that we came out after quarter time and started to chip away at it, so yeah, hats off to the boys.
Warps, Joshy Ward, mate, I've loved the way he's gone about it so far. He's impressed you, mate, with his work rate and what he's been able to show you in the first few rounds?
Yeah, he has. He's a super kid. The kids coming in these days, I don't know what they're feeding them, but gee, they can run, they can move, and they can kick the footy, so we have a really good group of young boys coming through, and Wardy's just been really well, and he's training well. He trained all well pre-season, so hats off to him.
James Warple on Grandstand AFL. Carlton winners by a solitary point. James, the roll-up here today, it was the 6th highest crowd ever for a Carlton Hawthorn game. What was it like to play in front of 66,500 in round 3?
Wow, 66. That's crazy. Yeah, it's good. We always knew it was going to be a big game. Two new coaches of two very big Victorian clubs, and obviously we're both 2-0, so there had to be a winner and loser this week, and unfortunately it was us. But, the crowd was probably a majority Blues supporters, tipping it was their home game, but hopefully we can get some more Hawk supporters down here next week.
There was a bit of a storm around the club leading into the game after the report in The Age yesterday written by Caroline Wilson concerning Cyril Rioli and his partner Shannon and their exit from the club, and the fact that they remained estranged from Hawthorn. Sam Mitchell spoke last night saying that he met with the club's Indigenous players. Did he address the group more broadly about the situation? Yeah,
he did. He sat us all down the other day and had a good open and honest discussion about it, and we're all aware of it as players, and some of us weren't at the club when it happened, but not disregarding Cyril and Shannon's feelings at all. So, the club have addressed us, and, we're doing everything we can in our power to fix the issue.
James, appreciate your time on ABC Radio. Thanks for joining us after the loss.
Yeah, easy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
James Warple from the Hawthorn Rooms. Carlton winners by a point. Their midfield is going to be obviously their strength, but I guess James Warple's a crucial part of that, alongside Tommy Mitchell and Jager O'Meara. Ned Reeves looks like he's slotted in nicely without Ben McAvoy for a substantial amount of time. So how do you see the Hawks midfield stacking up against the likes of Melbourne and obviously the Bulldogs with the best sides in the competition?
Well, if you had asked me last week, I would have said not that great, to be honest. It's a hard one, though, because you can't just go purely on touches sometimes, because a lot of junk can be caught up in that. But when you're going down in clearances, it probably is a testament to how you're setting up around the footy. But I think they're undersized compared to a Carlton midfield who's got Cripps and Hewitt, Chera, Kennedy. They're all 185 plus. We were talking about it before the game. So Mitchell, O'Meara, I think that what they need is just a little bit more speed. I think that's what Ward can provide, although he's got the speed and endurance. They experimented with Wingard last year. They try and inject that speed in, change direction with the ball. I think that's where they... I'm not sure who's coming through to be able to provide that for them. I know they went and got Newcomb in the pre-season draft, but it's going to be... the mid-season draft. And,
they are extremely healthy, the Hawks. That's the other thing they have going for them. So Jarman Impey played VFL yesterday.
He's a halfback, though.
Yep, Ben McAvoy obviously has the fracture in his neck. He's not going to fill that role. And the only other two players on their injury list, Lockie Bramble, played VFL for them, played a little bit last year, and Connor Downey, who's a second-year player.
Yep.
So basically what they've got is what we're seeing is what they've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and to answer your question, Clinchy, I don't think they're in the top rung of mids. They're workmanlike, they get the job done, they compete. I thought Warple was really good across the four quarters today in terms of his grunt work that he did. He won some really good balls, but they just probably lack that dash. There's someone who can really open the game up and cut you to pieces.
It is the modern rebuild, though, isn't it? Yeah, I think where our all expectations were if Hawthorn was not to be sort of competing with the top 8, but it's sort of somewhere between 12th to 18th, depending on how their senior guys went injury-wise. Do you feel like if they could address a couple of those challenges in the off-season, that by keeping the likes of Bruce and Gunston and Tom Mitchell, who were all sort of shopped around at other clubs with the potential, that this might be more the modern way of trying to rebuild a team?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to have your senior players who have been really loyal to your football club still there and still leading the way and showing younger guys how it's done and what senior football is all about. So you can't just get rid of all senior blokes, and then that allows guys who probably don't deserve a game or aren't quite ready yet to play. And it's almost, robbing Peter to pay Paul sometimes, giving young guys an opportunity when they're not ready, but in time they'll come good from the experience. But you want guys to really earn the right to wear the jumper as well. So it's a fine line, but I think they're doing the right thing. I think Hawthorn fans, if they will say at the start of the season they were sitting at 2-1 and 1 over there in Port Adelaide and ran Carlton here to a point, it's a toss of a coin to win today's game. And from where they were at quarter time, they're doing a lot of things right. And even then, we're still looking at the cattle through the middle of the ground and saying, well, they lack a little bit of leg speed, but they're still doing enough to be able to trouble sides. And that starts with being hard at the ball and good at the contest and having great balance around the ball, which, that's what Sam Mitchell was really great at in his career as a player.
He wasn't quick, was he? Neither was Geordie.
No, they weren't quick, but they just knew where to be and the right time about when to go get the ball, when to hold balance. So there's no doubt that Sam Mitchell is bringing that to this young Hawthorn midfield, and they're doing a lot of things right at the moment. And I think we've talked about their backline already, but they're a really solid backline to be able to. I think they gave up 60-odd inside 50s and to hold Carlton, who were pretty potent down there, to 74 points. That's pretty impressive in itself. So they're doing a lot of things right, and it was a toss of the coin today between winning and losing.
The thoughts of Mark Murphy alongside Brett Delidio, Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass. Upstairs, Jess Webster doing some great work getting responses from both rooms after Carlton's 1-point win over the Hawks. Let's check back in at Docklands, St Kilda and Richmond. Andrew Mays.
2-1 in this second term. The Tigers currently lead it by 8 points as Bolton takes a mark on the lead. He'll line up from 30 metres out directly in front. Richmond 8-5-53, leading St Kilda 7-3-45. It's the former Saint Matt Parker leading the way at the moment. He's got 3 goals, 1. And he's enjoying a good time this afternoon under the roof. So I'll see if Bolton can steer this one through and extend the margin by another goal. He'll kick from basically 35 out, directly in front. He comes in and delivers. So that margin is extended by another goal. So 7-3-45 St Kilda, 9-5-59 the Tigers after 16 minutes in the second term.
Thank you, Maisie. After both sides kicked 6 goals in the opening term, the Tigers in front there.
The crowd today, so 66,000. I know I've emphasised this a few times, but is that a reflection on the fact that it's round 3 and both teams are undefeated and they're both big Melbourne clubs, or is it a nod also to the time slot? We hear all the time about parents, struggling to take their kids to night games. Games are long. It's really a 4-hour experience or whatever, or plus, depending on where you live in the state. You're at the home of footy. It's at 1 o'clock. It's all over by 4. You got a chance to get home before school on a Monday. Do you think there's a little bit in that?
Yep, 100%.
Certainly, yeah.
This used to be my favourite time slot. I loved it.
Yeah, 1 o'clock's a great time slot, and you're right, for families, and Sunday's a family day to go to the football, to be going to the game at 12:30, 1 o'clock and home by 4:30, get the kids into some food, we'll get some food into them, get into bed and get rid of them and get them ready for the school week. I don't have any school kids yet, but I'd imagine that would be quite the case across the board from a lot of families here today.
Because, I mean, these time slots, and we do the Saturday Arvos now, Clinchy, is sort of the poor cousin on the fixture, aren't they? It's kind of like just buried away against sort of some Victorian team against an interstate side or something in Melbourne on a Saturday afternoon, whereas the sort of big time games and the glamour games are really reserved for Friday nights and Saturday nights in the nationally telecast spots. So, but that's a hell of a turn-up.
Well, exactly, but I think it doesn't bode well for getting people back to community footy and local footy. If you put a big game like this on a Saturday at 2 o'clock when everyone's trying to go out to their own clubs, you just don't get the turnout. So Sunday 1 o'clock, two big teams playing in that time slot's perfect. But yeah, mate, the people have still got to come, don't they? But it was and when you get that sort of game, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yep.
Of course, the local footy back on a Saturday, and for most who have kids footy on a Sunday morning, it's early enough that you can have those commitments and then make your way into the city at the MCG. Anyone hit you up yet, Murph, to have a kick, or you comfortably retired?
I'm very comfortably retired. No one's... Oh, I've had a few hit me up. I was going to play a little bit of football at East Doncaster. That's my local football club. But my shoulder's no good, and I'll just embarrass myself. So there's no chance of me playing. I thought you might have been doing the Carlton draft, or is that one of the late call-ups for the Carlton draft?
No, I'm not involved in that. No, they saw me at AFL 9s and they said stick to AFL 9s. That'll do.
Judging by the voice, I think the Saturday night out with the mates is more appealing than getting the body ready to play a game of footy on a Saturday.
Years.
Yep. The fixture was just jumping back to that. The fixture was awesome in round one. Felt like we got those big games, 5 days in Melbourne in a row, all the Victorian teams playing one another. I reckon they've missed a trick next weekend though. So it is round 4. Starts on a Thursday night, Port Adelaide play Melbourne, and then Friday night, Geelong up against Brisbane down at Cardinia Park. The first game in Melbourne is played at 4:30 on the Saturday between Collingwood and West Coast. There's a Saturday night game between Richmond and the Dogs. And then on Sunday, the doubleheader at Docklands and the MCG as well. The Formula One Grand Prix is on next weekend, and it's a great weekend in Melbourne where it feels like the city's sort of restarting after the pandemic, which is still on, by the way. I don't mean to talk about it like it's past. But there are people that have come from all different parts of Australia and overseas to be here for this international event that is the Formula One. Why wouldn't you have two big clubs playing on a Friday night in Melbourne? To think that the Friday night game is down in Cardinia Park and the first game's not until Saturday twilight. By that stage, the qualifying for the grid has already started at Albert Park, and then the races on the Sunday. So the 4 games that you have on Saturday and Sunday all completely clash straight ahead up with the race, where you think you're not going to attract people that are here for the motorsport across to watch your games in Melbourne.
Write a letter. Get on the front foot, mate. There's no point complaining to me. I need you to get on the front foot and start.
Missed opportunity.
You know what? If you've got lots of thoughts like that, like Corby, you want to get in touch with the Footy Forum coming up next. Clint Wheldon, Mark Duffield, and Jake Nile would be all too happy to take some of your calls, especially if you like Corby and you're passionate about fixturing. This is the forum for you.
And I love the idea of the Thursdays and Friday nights in interstate and all the rest of it. So it's not about that. But just do it on another weekend. The Formula One here is here once a year. And on the weekend, why not capitalise on the fact that you get some international exposure for your game and try and convince one of the drivers or someone as part of their team to come along and invite them to a cushy box or something? It just feels like a free hit that we're missing out on.
No foresight, was there?
No.
So Port Adelaide, Melbourne, Thursday night, Adelaide Oval, Geelong and Brisbane, Cardinia Park, Friday night. Probably that Friday night game alongside Richmond and the Western Bulldogs on Saturday night. A couple of the standouts of the round. Essendon and Adelaide, not as much from Docklands. Sunday in the early match, and Hawthorn St Kilda from the MCG. So a few of the matches not quite having the same headline act as what we saw in the opening couple of rounds of the season. We need the 3, 2 and 1 for the ABC Footballer of the Year.
I've been
shaking head lids, but come on.
There's so many people that could have gone into this, and to only give out 6 votes is very hard. But I gave 1 to the skipper, the bloke we spoke to, Patrick Cripps. Bit unlucky, probably not to be higher up, but 31 touches. He had 12 of those were contested, 6 clearances, but 11 tackles, so doing it both ways. Love this guy's game, and we've probably sung his praises, and everyone's singing his praises at the moment for the Hawks with CJ Chankwath Giath. It's a bit of a mouthful, but
you've worked on it though. You've got better.
Yeah, well, I usually just go with CJ, but I don't like to use nicknames on air. But geez, he's been good and impressive off half-back for the Hawks, and they're super impressed with him as well down there. 27 touches at 85%. So not just getting it, but using it really well and setting him up. 10 of those were intercept possessions as well. So his ability to read the flight and come back and take a chop-off mark and intercept the plays, it's been really good for the Hawks. 3 votes, and this could have gone to any number of them, but I've gone with Sam Walsh.
Ooh.
With just for 32, but kicked it at 72%, whereas the other boys kicked it at about 45, 44%. So I like a guy that can win it and then use it on the outside and make sure it gets to his teammate, not just get it and boot it to no one and it turns up into being a turnover. So Cripps 1, Giath 2, Walsh 3.
Key defenders don't get a look in the ABC Football of the Year?
No, mate, it's a midfielder's award. It always will be. I love Jacob Wiedering and what he did, but like I said, I was under pressure. I probably crumbled.
You back him in, Murph. The man who might be a bit disappointing, who received the David Parkin medal as the best on ground for the 2 sides, was Sam Doherty. Had 33 disposals.
They just looked at the stats.
83% kicking efficiency.
Yeah, 83% kicking efficiency.
9 inside 50s.
8 intercept possessions. So like he can't
1 inside 50, 9 intercept possessions.
9 intercept.
If he had 9 inside 50s, he's got it. He can have the 3. Absolutely, from half back.
Some big plays in that final quarter.
Yeah, well,
no, I'm with you, Lids. I'm with you, Lids.
Well, you're not, but you're not, though.
No, I just threw the question out there, but now I'm all on board.
Okay. I was Sam Doherty was one of my higher votes on the day, but I'm not getting him out. Man. So I'll support your 3-2-1. But
he's a stats man.
I'm not a stats man whatsoever because you went with Walshy, who has got 32.
Yeah, and kicked it well. Unlike with Cripps, 45%, Kennedy 44%, which I love Pam's game, but just if you're going to kick it at 44%, you're not.
May as well hand it back, I suppose, to the opposition.
Don't win it.
We'll continue this conversation off air once we wrap up. England needing 226 runs for victory. They're 4 for 131 after 21 overs. Australia posting 356. So Nat Sever on 47. Dunkley on 1 at Docklands. Richmond and St Kilda approaching half-time. Andrew Mays.
Yeah, the Tigers just holding them at bay at the moment. 14 points up. They lead 10-5-65 to the Saints. 8-3-51. 24 minutes played. Second term here under the roof.
Thank you, Maisie. Great to have you as a part of the team, Lids. Murph, well done on your lap of honour.
Thanks very much. It wasn't great with Max. Max was a bit upset. But anyway, it was great to see all the fans anyway.
That's the dress code from now on too, mate.
Yes.
You've got to come in looking like
sharp
that.
in the blazer and the white shirt as well.
It's not too dissimilar from your photo shoot get up.
Come on.
With
the baby blue jacket with white buttons was very average. Anyway, we move on.
Dear, oh dear. Of course, the Sunday Footy Forum with Clint Wheeldon alongside Jake Noel and Mark Duffield is about to follow, so taking your calls. And don't forget the Western Derby still to come. The West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers to close out round 3 of the AFL. We'll keep you across all the action from Docklands and the Women's World Cup in the cricket, with Australia comfortably on top there. The Blues winners by a point, 11-8-74 to the Hawks, 11-7-73 in front of 66,317 fans. Brett Delidio gave the 3 votes to Sam Walsh in the Blues' 1-point victory. The Blues start the season 3-0 for the first time in a decade, back in 2012, the last time the Blues opened the season with 3 wins. On behalf of the team at the MCG, enjoy your afternoon. Here are the highlights from the G.
Pass out to Fisher. He kicks inside the forward 50 for Carlton. Big leap, Curnow. Another pack mark from another key forward for Carlton. Mackay and Curnow, a couple of pack marks, a couple of goals. What's not to love? From the boundary throw in to Coney. Taps it down to Sicily, knocked out of his grasp. Reeves, dangerous hand pass. Durden steals it from Jack, kicks it from the pocket. Bruce spun around, lost it. Spills to Krebs, hands it to Doherty's, kick smothered. Ricochets back into dispute, centre half forward for the Hawks. Ward releases a hand pass to Bruce, shoots out of traffic, and Bruce pops it through.
Wiedering's tapped straight to Warple, gets the hand pass to Nash. Mish Lewis is pushed forward, he marks, hand passes over the top. Bruce no one between he and the goal mouth. Now he works it over, McDonald has it. Right on the goal line.
Off he goes, Shankroft. He's had 2 bounces already. Runs a long way, then kicks it to half forward. Boyd got hands to it, no mark. Warple brings it down, trickles it along the ground to Bruce. Centre half forward, kicks for Wingard. Into the open goal. Hawthorn are coming. Granger Barras away to McGuinness, to Ward, back to Denver, who keeps on running. Hand pass dangerous for Moore. Moore's dispossessed. Boyd wins it for Carlton. Hand pass away to Hewitt. Lost it in the tackle. Mitchell shoots. and Mitchell pops it through. Carlton's lead is evaporating.
Reeves wins down the tap only as far as Plowman and Carlton. Kicks towards the defensive 50. Morrison trying to pinch it. Found room. Kicks off the outside of the boot. Coming back. It's got there. Harry Morrison making the most of his opportunity.
Now a little fumble from Sicily. Sicily knocks it away to Howe. Short kick. Morrison marks. Hand pass to Jack.
Looks out to the members wing. Gunston's free. Takes the mark on his chest. Drew in Wiedering and now he's off. Wiedering laid flat-footed. Gunston 2 bounces. Gets to 30. Steadies. And the Hawks are in front.
Cherra to half forward. DeConing out to meet it. Tackled by Granger. Barras dispossessed. Spills to Cripps. Gives it to Walsh. Kicks inside 50 for Carlton. At the back, hands to it always. No mark. Fisher releases Silvani into the open goal. Silvani, the blue blood, returns Carlton to the front. Free kick, Luke Bruce between wing and half forward. Kicks inside 50. Gunston hugs it to his chest at left half forward. And he'll shoot from a tight angle here, 10 metres in from the boundary line. He wastes no time. The bender across the body is good. It's a 1-point game again at the G.
Nick Newman sends it long down the wing towards Harry Mackay. The siren sounds. And for the Blue Believers, they're 3-0 to start the 2022 season. There's been a few false dawns, but it feels real now.